this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for the Village of Southampton. It is Monday, March 14th, 2022. And as one of my fellow board members, it's nice to see light outside our respective windows. Which gets me thinking of next week, next session, Jackie, will we be live and in person?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay. Okay. And those meetings are nonetheless recorded and the public will have access on a real-time basis, correct, Kat?
Correct.
Okay, good. So let me introduce my fellow board members. On my screen, I see Sarah Latham, Peter DeWitt, Mark McIntyre, and John Gregory. We have a quorum, full board. So I move that we open this meeting. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So joining us tonight are our counsel, Alice Cooley, our recording secretary, Jackie Allen, our planning director. I'm not sure if Alex is on right now, but will be joining us shortly. That's Alex Wallach, and our videographer, Kat Styler. So before we proceed with the agenda, there was an issue with the publishing, if you will, or posting of the agenda on the village website. So I'd like to just turn this over to Alice Cooley, our counsel, just to explain how we'll be proceeding this evening.
Sure. So because the agenda was not properly posted to the village's website, the record for any application will be kept open for written comment until the next meeting on March 28th to satisfy the New York State open meeting law requirements. So that would be any application where the board is inclined to close the record tonight that will still have to be kept open for written comment. And that's whether it's a carryover or a new application.
Right. So if that impacts anybody such that they would choose to adjourn to the next meeting, you may do so when called, or you can, I guess, Kat, can they chat with you? Or is there any way to send a message to you?
No, there's no way unless they use my email, and I don't mind, they can do that.
Okay. Well, if anybody wishes to adjourn ahead of the meeting, please raise your hand and Kat can, then you can chat with them directly, correct? If they raise their hand? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
If I could
Sure,
just
go
also,
ahead.
I think anyone could, if they wanted to, present to the board tonight and get feedback from the board and just anticipate that the vote wouldn't take place until the next meeting. I know we have a couple of written decisions on for tonight. Those will not be impacted.
Right. Okay, so great. Let's proceed then with the meeting, and first order of business are the minutes. And we have minutes from the 14th and the 28th. So from the 14th, has everybody had a chance to review them and comment? And if there are no further comments or edits to those, at least the ones on the 14th, I would move that we accept that into the record for the 14th. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
A second by Sarah. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good. That's unanimous. And then the minutes of the 28th. Has everybody had a chance to read those? Okay. Any comments? No. Okay. Then I move that we accept those into the record. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so then we move on to written decisions, and we have three before us. The first one is Smithtown Partners LLC, 40 Meadow Lane, for the installation of an elevator. And council, can you summarize that? And then I'll ask if there are any comments to the written decision.
Sure. The owner applied to the board for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an addition and exterior alterations in the form of an elevator. The majority of the board felt that the design was appropriate for the historic district, though it was determined by the building inspector that some variances would be required. So this certificate of appropriateness, if adopted tonight, would be conditioned upon variance relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments on the written decision from my fellow board members?
No.
No, okay. Well, I, the chair, does. So I'm in the process of drafting a descending note, which will be part of the file, but I'll just share the essence of it with you folks this evening for your consideration, and so that it is in the record. It's my belief that this particular application was mislabeled, misrepresented, and misjudged. By mislabeled, it is posted as a request for an elevator, when in fact it's a request for an addition. The elevator is a personal amenity, and it is only the addition that is within the jurisdiction and purview of the board. Misrepresented in the context of the addition was presented to the building department and the board initially without the proper pyramid lines being drawn in as required. As such, it was misrepresented as not requiring a variance. When the board pointed this out to the building inspector, he concurred. The applicant subsequently claimed that there was an exemption. The code does not provide for such an exemption. And the trustees did so for good reason, as not to further exacerbate non-conforming structures. And in fact, a more recently enactment by the trustees was of a code that further reduces the height of buildings on properties such as 40 Meadow, resulting in an even greater violation of the zoning codes as was presented. It's not the role of this board to approve applications that conflict or cause a violation of the zoning codes. There are, however, and we've been party to it, exceptions in highly unusual circumstances, or in which the impact of the variance would be de minimis. But this is neither of those. It is, again, a personal amenity. And as such, with the new law, the violation of the code is not de minimis. In fact, it's as the planning director indicated, it would require a variance for 7 feet at the height level. So in my view, by approving this written decision, the board is acting in a de facto legislative capacity. And in this case, too, counter to the intentions of the trustees. This application and our approval, in my view, runs against not only the letter of the law, the code, but surely the spirit of the law. I will put that in a draft. I will convert that draft into a written format and submit that into the file. Again, the vote is yours to take. And so if you have further comments, again, the case isn't open. We're just talking about the written decision. But if you want to comment on the written decision, you're free to do so. And then after that, we'll vote, and you're free to vote the way you choose.
Member McIntyre, did you want to make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness?
I move we approve the certificate of appropriateness for 40 Meadow Lane.
Okay, so then there's a second by Sarah, and let's do this by voice. All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's an aye by Mark McIntyre, And I, Peter,
Aye.
I, Sarah.
Aye.
Okay, nay is me. And presumably, John, where are you? I don't see you.
He's naying.
Okay, okay, good. All right, so
Nay.
those are the votes. Okay, great. All right, thank you, folks. Then the next one is Tate's. Now, I think this is still in the drafting process, right, Alice? And
So I
we have the landscaping.
determination. However, it seems the applicant would like to add some landscaping to their application. So rather than have them submit for an amendment when we have not yet adopted the determination, I thought it might be prudent for the board to consider reopening their hearing to then consider that would need to be a unanimous vote, but that to then
Right.
consider landscaping and do it as one.
And we would have to reopen that tonight so that they can be on the agenda for next.
Correct.
Okay, so I would move that, well, is there any discussion about that? Do I have any discussion about reopening it? No, okay. So I would move that we reopen the application of Tate's Bake Shop for exterior alterations and to further include a landscape plan. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that is unanimous. Thank you, Alice.
Okay.
Okay, so that will be adjourned, Jackie, to our next meeting with the addition of the landscape plan. Okay, so the next one is Park Slope Investment Trust at 81 Jobs Lane for exterior alterations.
So this was an application for a certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations. The applicant presented a paint sample, Benjamin Moore Westcott Navy, which the board found to be appropriate for this shingle style building.
Okay, has everybody read that and is in agreement? Okay, in which case I move.
1624.
What's that?
That's the color number 1624, I believe.
Okay, all right, so
Not appropriate for a shingle style.
I move that we accept the written decision that's drafted by counsel for Park Slope Investment Trust. Do I have a second on that, please?
Second.
Second by, I think that was Mark. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, so that takes care of the written decisions. Thank you very much, Alice. It's always a pleasure reading Alice's written decisions. She gets an A for brevity and directness. Okay, so let's move on to historic districts. And we have a few adjournments. One, a request by the way, to adjourn through the 11th. I can't recall whether that's a new one or the one from last week. Jackie, do you recall?
That's a carryover.
Carryovers.
At this point, that's been carried over for 6 months. Shouldn't it be renoticed?
It will
I-
have, we did already tell them that.
Okay.
Okay. Then Beechwood Latch, Jackie, you said they had recently requested an adjournment, correct?
Yes, Chair, they requested an adjournment to March 28th.
March 28th. Okay, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to March 28th for Beechwood Latch. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's adjourned. Post Crossing, that's an existing adjournment, so we'll move on to Searsucker LLC at 365 South Main Street. Jackie received a letter this afternoon saying that they requested an adjournment to review the village historian's report. Correct, Jackie?
Correct.
Okay, and that was just an adjournment to our next meeting, presumably?
Correct.
Okay, so I move that we accept the applicant's request of Seersucker One LLC, 365 South Main Street, to adjourn to our next meeting on March 28th. A second on that, please.
Second.
Second by Peter. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll see those folks on the 28th. Okay. So now on to number 5, 39 Lewis Street. Okay. And so would the applicant and anybody speaking on their behalf step forward, please?
And while we wait for that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just note that the
Okay.
board should have received a report from the historic consultant that should be in the Dropbox and is available to the board.
It is. And first off, I want to, this is our first chance to review reports by Sally Spanberg, our historical consultant. And I, for one, was very impressed by their thoroughness, historic context. I found them all very informative and useful to the board and hopefully to the applicant as well. Now, I wonder, board members and Alex and Alice, there were several specific directions in this. Do you think, for the public's benefit or the applicant's benefit, we should read those, or should we just proceed to hear the applicant and the board, having read the report, have that in their mindset in terms of reviewing the applicant's proposals? What do you think?
If the applicant has not yet received the report, I think we should share some of the findings with the applicant.
Okay.
We have received it and we've
Okay.
read it over. So
Okay.
we are ready to speak if you'd like us to.
That's an excellent segue into me asking for you to tell us who you are. So anybody who's representing the applicant, raise your hand so Kat can get you on the screen, and then tell us who you are.
Okay, Anthony Vermandois, the architect for the 39 Lewis Street. So yeah, so
And Anthony, will you be joined by anybody else, including the
yes,
the property owner?
the property owner, Mr. Houseman, is on as well, and he may
Okay.
like to speak as well.
Great.
Hi,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay. hi,
There he
Jim.
is.
Hello
All
again.
right. All right, good.
Let's get it done.
All right. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. So yeah, so we just got the report today, but I did have some time to review it quickly. And I think that the main point in the report, and which is something which we brought up has come up at the last meeting, is the front porch. And you will recall at the first presentation, our original intention was to remove the existing storm windows that enclose the front porch and just return it to being a fully open to the air porch as it was when the house was originally built. I think at the meeting, the members of the board had some questions about whether that was an appropriate thing to do. I think subsequent to the meeting, myself and the homeowner have sort of come around to the idea that, yeah, you know, maybe it is better to keep the porch enclosed. And then certainly looking at the report, which we have received, I think that the historic consultant is certainly in the of the opinion that the porch is more appropriate to keep the front porch enclosed. So I think that's, you know, that's certainly the direction that we're going to be going in here, rather than opening it up as we had originally presented. I think that the question here is where we're looking for some additional feedback is exactly how we're going to keep it enclosed. What we would like to do, and I think, I'm not sure if am I allowed to screen share here briefly?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see. Are
I
you
think
seeing my
Kat
screen?
No, sir, it's not up.
Okay.
If you want instruction, I'll help you. If not, I'll wait.
I know, I think I got it.
Okay, yeah, you did.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so we sent in this revised front elevation here. What we would like to do is basically keep the look of it being enclosed, but replace the existing windows, which are not. I mean, they're basically storm windows, and we'd like to replace them with fully insulated windows so that we can actually bring that porch into the heated space, the air-conditioned space of the house, and make use of that additional square footage. So what we're proposing at this point is basically the porch posts and the porch pilasters will remain. But behind that, we'll build the window wall going across the back and a new front door going into the house. So it won't be exactly the same layout as the existing windows, but it will be the same overall appearance. What we would like to do is we'd like the windows to be a mix of casement and fixed windows. So that's
Can we
essentially-
respond or is it time yet?
Yeah, no, please. Any questions or comments on the
Sure.
direction?
Listen, I think the direction is right on. I've been saying it from the beginning. It's an accidental modernist thing, which I love. I mean, it's pre-modern. It actually coincides with early modern period, but it's a coincidence. I know that. The one thing I really object to is reordering the columns. I love the accidental nature of the existing rhythm of the columns and the fact that some windows are 3 panes, some are 4, some are 2. And I think that reflects the ad hoc nature of the construction sequence. And I think that should really, really be preserved.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think we can accommodate that.
Yeah, I agree with that also. The idea that you've made everything precise is not the aspects of the house that were there before. And I think having it both winterized and summerized is a good way of approaching it. But I would keep the fenestration pattern, and above all not the casement versus, that's fine.
Okay, great.
But I would keep the post.
Okay. We can accommodate that, sure.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Thanks. It's beautiful. It really is. It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be great. I agree.
Great.
I agree with Sarah and Peter.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that you're taking to heart the other things that she thought were.
Yes, and when we come back at the next meeting, we'll have everything fully detailed and labeled and whatnot. But just to go over a few other things briefly here, I think everybody seemed to agree that we should keep these 2 little side dormers here. So we're going to keep those. That's fine, no problem. Not shown on this drawing, but there is a little kind of overhang side entrance overhang here. No problem at all with keeping that. One thing I want to clarify here, just in case there are any questions about it before we go into the full detailing of it. The intent here is to lift the house and put a brand new foundation underneath it. So, obviously, anywhere where we're keeping the original footprint, it will reflect that. But the intent is to do a new foundation underneath the house. Very little of the existing foundation is visible. It's not like it's a beautiful brick or stone or something like that. The house is actually quite low to the ground, so very little of that foundation is visible.
So
And-
the elevation will remain the same then?
Yes, it'd be the same height relative to grade, yes.
Great.
I think one thing I would say is if we are rebuilding this or enclosing this front porch and it becomes part of the heated space. I think rather than currently there's a wood deck supporting that. I think now it would be there would be some masonry. There would need to be masonry underneath that. We could finish it off in the front with a little, lattice or something like that to make it look like a wood porch, but the actual structure of it would. Let me backtrack there so I'm not misleading. It doesn't sound too like I'm misleading you. I'm not saying the porch itself obviously will stay wood. I'm saying that the foundation of the porch would be masonry.
Glad you said that because that's where I was headed.
Okay. Okay, so any further board comments? Any comments from the public?
I would just like to
Sure.
reinforce what Sally said, that when you're looking at an old building, you choose a date and you don't flip flop back and forth. And she's made her memo, she's made that quite clear, that if you keep the front dormer and the side dormers and the front elevation, then you're leaning toward 1915. So you're not going to go back and forth between 1901 and 1915. So thank you. And thank you,
Okay.
Sally.
Good. All right.
I just have a question.
No public
I have a
comment? Go ahead,
question.
sure.
When I look through the windows of this house, the existing exterior wall that's behind the porch is still there?
Yes.
Okay,
That,
so you're not removing what was the front wall of the house to go to this wall. That still exists?
well, we would be opening it up
Yeah.
to make use of that space. I mean, we would need some part of that wall is structural. It's holding up the second floor, so it won't go away completely. But the idea would be to open that up, to make better flow from the interior rooms into the new fully enclosed porch.
I would suggest that also go before Sally examine that as well.
Okay, can we then maybe come up with when we come up with a plan for that, we can send that to her for comments ahead of the next meeting?
That would be
Yeah,
great.
well, send it to Alex, and then he'll coordinate it with Sally. So at one point, there was discussion about keeping the existing original walls, front walls to the house, with the exception of the bay that is now the dining room, I guess, or foyer. So you're thinking of removing all the interior, exterior walls?
Well, I mean, certainly we would like to remove that bay because it's frankly, even if it's not great with the layout of that particular room. As far as the other two rooms go, the room on the left here, which was what will be the dining room, that wall has already been altered over time. It's got like a new kind of recent door in it that's not of any historic value. So I don't think there would be anything problematic with opening that up as far as losing anything historic. All the way on the right though, that's in the room behind that will be a bedroom. There are two existing double hung windows, mold together there.
Yeah, because I think it's an interesting point, because on this black and white drawing, the windows are ostensibly opaque, but in reality, the windows are clear. So clear windows looking back onto an historic house helps, I guess, in my view, keep that historic element. And if you bring everything forward, now you've sort of taken away some of the flavor that Sarah was pointing out to try to keep. So it would not be, if you're going to stick to 1915, 1916, by bringing everything out to the front, I think contemporizes it to a point where you're losing some of the historic nature of the house.
A lot of
just to have more detail on how you plan on going about doing that updating, because to me, once you remove that exterior wall that's in the interior of the porch, that's not reversible. That should not be the case.
Yeah, and then
It's
you
no longer
add
a
on,
porch.
and then you add on to that the use of casement windows. Then I think that two of those, removing that back wall and then putting on casement windows contemporizes it, I think, more than was the original intent of the report and the comments Sarah and you and others, John, have made.
So changing the use is not an issue as much as how you plan on making that revision to the building itself.
Because once you look at 1915, you really can't, you really shouldn't be going back and forth with future alterations. I understand that you've got a problem because it's narrow, but work with it.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Okay.
I don't think we can. I don't think it's fair to make them enclose something and then they can't use it. I mean, that bay, I know it's original to the first house, but
Yeah.
it's gone now. I mean, we're going 1915, and I never
Right.
saw that. I don't really notice. I can't remember seeing the bay through the window. The windows are not opaque,
Yeah.
but they are reflective. You know,
Right.
unless the lights are on, you don't see it. In.
Yeah, Peter, I was less concerned about the bay coming forward than everything to either side of it.
I agree. Yes. So I think the plan just will not work, you know, for the homeowner if we make them keep that
No.
bay.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
don't think we should do that.
Yeah,
On the dining room side, if that's been a mucked up wall, I wouldn't be against removing it. On the north end, I mean, we should see a plan really, so we could, you know, make
Okay.
more informed judgment. But on the north end, I wouldn't be opposed to turning those mold windows into an opening, you know, from the bedroom into like a bay, you know, a sitting
Yeah,
area.
I mean, that would be kind of what, that's where our thought is basically turning those windows and the door on the dining room side basically into big mold openings. So you would
Yeah.
still see, there would still be some visual definition there. It would be almost like a gallery kind of connecting
Yes.
the house, but on the inside instead of being an exterior space.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
And that
I'm
is,
so
you
confused
know,
by the-
besides being aesthetic, that's also practical from a structural standpoint.
I just think we needed the opinion of our consultant
Okay.
on this issue, because to me, it's currently a porch, an enclosed porch, and that's part of the history of the home. By removing that, you're forever changing the structure of this historic house. But anyway, that's,
Well, look,
All right.
hi, everybody. Can I just make one or two comments? It's Jim Hausman.
Okay,
homeowner.
sure. Go ahead.
As noted in the historical consultant's report, at some point, this became a three-family house. So the entire left side of this picture that you guys are looking at is two apartments. And on the left side, you know, there's a door. There's actually two front doors, right? The one that you see and the one on the left. I don't know if you guys remember, there's a door where the dining room would be on the
Mhm.
left. Obviously, in the historic person's report, they acknowledge getting rid of that door to the apartment on the left-hand side, which would be dining room now, is an appropriate thing to do. At that point, the 1915 house that we're going with was a three-family. That was its historic use. So to some extent, we are collectively, and I think cooperatively, deviating from sort of what was there at that time. I'm not exactly sure of what we're sort of talking about on the fringes about in terms of the old porch being subsumed into the house and how it may go. If anything, maybe the area in front of the bedroom to the right on the front of the house that we're looking at right here would remain sort of a porch or whatever it is. Just so in other words, you walk in the front door, to the right is sort of in keeping with it, but to the left where the of the front door where the house comes out and makes the porch really super narrow and unusable, that I would definitely like to get rid of. And somebody really very interestingly pointed out that based upon that like 1900 picture, they think that that area is where the front door used to be. So strangely enough, somewhere in 1900 and 1915, not only did they create this three-family use, they moved the front door to the right. So I'd like to potentially, I definitely want to get rid of the bay because it makes the porch crazy. And to the left of that, which is the area where that front door is now to the apartment, which is where the dining room would be, We're now moving from right to left in the picture we're looking at. I definitely want to get rid of that door because I don't want to have a door walking into my dining room. And keep in mind, everybody, if we keep the door around the side of the house, which is in this letter, which they want us to keep on the driveway side, that also is going to go into the dining room. So all of a sudden we would have a door going into the dining room from the front and also from the driveway on the left. So I guess what I would propose maybe a little bit as a middle ground is everything from the left of the front door, I subsume into the house, as Anthony was saying, the heated portion. And to the right of the front door could be a little porch or whatever, or a little bit different. But it seems to me the center of the house area, which is super narrow with this thing that comes out where there used to be the front door, and the left part where the door is into the second apartment right now, it seems to me those are unworkable areas of the 1915 three-family house. So I guess we're sort of jumping back and forth. I want to be true to the 1915 version as much as I can, but I would love the living space, of having it, because the porch, as I said to you in the past, and I'll stop, I know I'm talking too much. As I said to you last time, the porch is completely unusable and suffocating, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen,
even if we
can resolve this with the
change
plan.
things around.
We need to see a plan, and I'm pretty sure that Anthony, he's got our mood, our vibe, whatever. And I think that, rather than speculate on what it might be, let's look at the plan and it'll be more.
Yeah, Peter's correct, but at the same time, I think, Jim, the board was generally in agreement to the need to remove the bay or presume or absorb the bay into the front, but not so much with the south side. So, but as Peter said, come back with a plan. You've heard the board, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Excellent.
So-
Thank you, everybody, for your time as usual.
Okay,
Very much.
I move that
It's really
we
good.
accept the applicant's request to adjourn. Do you have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you,
Next
Anthony.
meeting is the 28th.
28th, that's it.
But what about the
Excellent.
working? Can we get in for the working session? Would we do that?
No, we don't have working sessions.
Oh,
So, yeah, so 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Got it. Thank you,
March
We
everybody.
got it.
Thank you, Anthony.
With submissions to Thursday before at noon time, okay?
That will work for me.
Right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next application, One Hampton Road, JNH LLC, eponymously located at One Hampton Road.
I think we received an adjournment request for this one as well.
Okay, so to the next, any specific time on that?
I
March
believe it's
28th.
3/28.
The 20th. Okay, I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Actually, before we do that, having called it, Sarah, you raised the point about having somebody who is skilled and experienced in actual restoration work look at it.
Yes, the recommendation came through. I actually contacted various people, including Zach Studenroth,
Right.
who suggested that Joel Snodgrass was probably the person to prepare, to do an analysis and also come up with specifications to restore the stonework.
Okay. Yeah, so,
And so therefore, I sent that information to both Sally and Alex so that
yeah,
they could in turn send it to the homeowner, I mean, the owner of the property.
Yes.
It's a highly significant building, and it's been subject to Band-Aids over the years. And in fact, the coating that was proposed would have trapped water back behind.
Right.
So I think that the sooner a technical analysis and resulting specifications that they need to be prepared, and then somebody needs to, he can probably, anyway, let's start with
Okay.
Joel.
yeah, I agree with that. And whether it's Joel or Zach, I think both of them have done work on graveyard restoration, so they know a bit about stonework and masonry and never mind. I'm sure there are 100 jokes in that. Alex, why don't you and I, we'll talk tomorrow and we'll proceed on that recommendation, okay?
Sure, Mr. Chair, did you also want to raise the issue of the scaffolding, or we can address that?
Well,
Yeah, on the scap, what I was going to say is, unless there's some need for them to remove the scaffolding, one, they could either leave it there, but just they should know that if the person analyzing the pediments have to, physically see them, they're going to need access to them, and whether that's by a cherry picker or leaving the scaffolding up. I'm indifferent to it. I don't know if you have an opinion, Sarah. I mean, the scaffolding is not a great look, but they would have to pay for the cherry picker. We'll pay for the consultant.
Oh, really?
Well, that's just, well, if you.
No, we shouldn't pay for the
No,
consultant.
no, I mean, really, at this.
No, the historic consultant is something we do. So like we pay for Sally.
No,
Yeah, but-
no,
All right, well,
no.
let's discuss that offline. That's an administrative matter. So,
Both Zach and I think that the owner should pay for this because.
okay,
Okay.
we can discuss
Right,
it
you know, it's just-
offline. It's a
All
procedural
right,
thing
but-
that I could be wrong on that, but okay, let's do
Ron?
that offline. Let's move though to adjourn this particular application. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second, okay. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, good. We are all in agreement, sort
And
of.
we'll have a report forthcoming from Sally about that property as well. I just wanted to know.
Okay, okay, great. Oh, okay, so now we are on, thank you, I see. So Daniel Brockett, 292 Ox Pasture Road, to construct a 2-story single-family dwelling. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Lori Fontana.
Okay,
She's coming in. It looks like the only person with their hand up, Jeff.
okay, so Lori, come introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lori Fontana. I am the senior associate at McDonough and Conroy, representing Daniel Brockett at 290
Great.
Ox Pasture.
Right. Lori, before you begin, I just want to hopefully bring some clarification to one of the issues that arose last week. And I don't know if your client is in the waiting room or intends to speak. But there was an issue as to the designation of this property, whether it be a flag lot or somehow a bifurcated multi-acre lot. So that's not our purview at this meeting. We're going to accept it as it is presented. But I did want to clarify for your client's benefit in particular, and you may be aware of it, the code that we operate under, which is chapter 65, and in particular, section 5, which describes the criteria for certificate of appropriateness, which is required in the historic district. And subsection B3 says that all new construction must be compatible. Okay. And then section 5C goes on further to not describe, but to instruct the board as to what's considered incompatible. The relevant things are 1, general design, and then 2, the scale to the property itself and surrounding properties, and 4, I'm skipping 3 because it wasn't relevant, and 4, the visual compatibility, including proportions of the front and the roof. So I just want your client to be aware that matters of scale in relation to the property are within the purview of this board. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same wavelength. So, okay? So Lori, the floor is yours.
If you wanted to bring up the revised renderings, please. Okay. So after the last review, we removed all of the transoms. We removed the shutters. We removed the oval gable end windows and replaced them with more of a square rectangular. We lowered the garage height by 2 feet. We reduced the size of the dormers and removed the diamond pattern grills. The garage, we removed the picture windows and all the windows on the side and just left 2 at the end for natural light purposes. The elevation, the rendering is incorrect. The plans indicate that the front door is mahogany. It is not glass. It was, once we realized it was too late for the renderer to change it to have it in time, but the plans are noted that it is a mahogany door with 2 side lights. See, we did reduce the size of all of the windows. If you will go to the rear elevation, please, which is the south. There. So the 2-story wall of the glass was greatly reduced. The height of all exterior doors was reduced by 1 foot. The windows are more in line with following a line across the back of the house. They're set at the same header height and they are the same height. Let's see. That was a reduction due to a comment by the neighbor. So if you'll open up the landscape screening plan, there was concerns about screening.
Lori, what's the material on the roof?
It's cedar. It's just
Okay.
very
So it's
difficult to get the renderers to do it
Yeah, I know.
right. It's really, I mean, no matter how hard I try, I just.
No,
that's. So if, is it possible for you to zoom in? We are providing screening around the perimeter of the property where the neighbors were concerned about. So they are all evergreens. As far as, I think, the neighbor, the fence that the neighbor was concerned about their pet, the fence is actually on my client's property. And we did, the contractor did go in and put a temporary fence up to cover the holes that were created when the clearing of the property happened. So we have addressed, I think, everything that I took notes on. So I guess I'm open to comments.
Okay, board members. In any particular order. Just go.
I appreciate the changes around the edges, getting rid of the transoms, and I'm not opposed to dormers, although I'd like them to be shutters, but I like them to be the same size as the windows. Those things are fine. I still think the garage I think the massing is massive. I don't know. It's like a run-on sentence. And the garage, I think the approach, I know this is getting into design, but I sure wouldn't want to drive up to my $15 million house and face that garage, okay? It looks, the visor over it is too tall. It's not subordinate to the main house.
If that was lowered, so if we could go.
I know, but you need another expression. How about a gable that has a first floor eave line and the second floor is a dorm or something. But even that, you know, and the landscaping is awful. We hate the row of evergreens around the perimeter. And that's all I'm going to say, because I think there's other people going to have a lot more to say.
Yeah, I agree that the garage is still vastly out of scale with, it should be subservient, not something that is of equal weight to the main structure.
Yeah, excuse me, but you have to lower the ceiling of the garage. You have it at the first floor height. Lower the ceiling. You don't need 12-foot high garage doors. That's screwing up your scale. Sorry.
No, that's true. And I think that the point that as you drive down the pole, that would be the first thing that you see. And that's not really, if you're from a design standpoint, that's not the first structure that you want to see.
So in that way, I think it's completely ass backwards, frankly.
You know what, Peter, if you want to make a comment like that, I would ask you to do it respectfully.
I'm sorry. I think it's inappropriate.
Thank you.
I apologize. But it's backwards. You want to see the front of the house, not the back of the house when you drive up.
Yeah, the procession is such that rather than having a welcoming residential building, you're greeted first with, you know, the first thing you see is an overscale garage, and I think you can do better than that. Thank you.
Well, okay, can we finish the board comments?
I apologize.
Thank you. I agree with Sarah and Peter. The garage is it seems oversized compared to the rest of the house. And it almost seems like it in a way to accentuate what the true entrance of the house is, there's all this ornamentation that seems out of place as well. The railing at the roof line, the railing around, first of all, having balconies on the front facade of a house, I think is a bit much. But I think that it's like there's an attempt to draw attention away from the size of the garage by adding all these other things. And I just, I agree. It seems a bit lopsided from a massing standpoint.
If it were half the size and stepped back, or at least the hierarchy were changed so that it were flipped, you'd be in a better spot.
Okay, so this sort of underscores.
I would say looking at the ground plan, I'm actually surprised there's that much available coverage on this lot. That aside, though, when I look at the front door is almost subservient to the rest of the house. There's no set of presence to the front door because the upper glass is so much bigger, and I literally don't understand the railing up on the roof where no one would ever go. So I think it's a little too one of everything. I think no attempt has been made to bring down the massing of this house. It stands almost suburban in its mass to me. And the other thing that I look at is the same where you've got sort of that empty wall by the garage on the north elevation where you've got windows at above, but no windows in the bottom. So it seems like an odd window to wall ratio as you look at the north elevation to the right of the front door. When you go to the south elevation, the same problem repeats itself. So going in the back door to the right of all those sliding glass doors across the back, you have this big blank wall staring at you. And I believe, is that garage or that goes to occupiable space?
No, that if you're talking about, the picture that's up, if we're looking straight down, that is the garage. I removed the windows.
No. Go up,
okay.
go down 3 pictures. That's north, that's west, that's east, there. What's the blank wall there to the right?
So that is the butler's, the pantry for storage.
Okay, I just think it's odd that you have this you come out of this house with all this glass and suddenly you're looking at this great big blank wall. I just think the glass to wall ratio is weird there.
Okay.
And again at the top there's another railing where no one would ever go. So I just think it's over ornamentation on this house.
Okay, so to some extent, this underscores or presents the issue that was raised as to what this is, and whether you choose to quote Shakespeare and his comment about a rose smelling as sweet no matter what you call it, or something more plebeian. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. You know, this is, if you're building a house, I think that a lot of the comments reflect a house that should be built on 3 acres with a front approaching driveway, rather than the flag lot that it physically is, no matter what you call it. And I think the comments by the board members driving up to this massive garage and a massive house reflect that. So again, we can only deal with scale, massing, design, and so on, but you've heard a lot of comments, Lori. I hope you take them with the intention that was meant, and good intentions at that. So I'll give the floor back to you and also open it up to public comment.
Okay, my client is here and he did text me that he did want to speak. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if he wants to speak now or I'm
Sure.
not.
Sure, he's welcome to.
Dan, if you're on, just raise your hand and she can let you in.
There's 2 people with their hands up. I'm letting them both in, and one is a Dan.
Then that would be Dan Brockett.
There's Dan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you know who Nika Strunk is?
Those are neighbors.
Okay, so
And
that's
the
a public
lawyer.
comment. Nika, if you could just wait until they've finished. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay,
Dan. So
hi.
just introduce yourself for the record. Thanks, Dan.
Sure. I'm Dan Brockett. I'm the owner of this property. And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. I only want to make one point, and it's a part of the theme that I said last time, which was that before I bought this property, we went to the chief building inspector, Tin Ho So, and we specifically inquired about this very question of what would be the building envelope here. And we got a ruling from the chief building inspector that this was not a flag lot, that it is a barbell lot, I guess you could, with a front yard and a backyard. And that in terms of the size of the house we could build, it would be based upon the entire 2.2 acres that comprise both the front yard and the backyard.
Right.
And because we can't build on the front yard, obviously, so the house had to be placed. And so there was reliance by me on the ruling of the building inspector in agreeing to spend $8 million for this property. So I do appreciate all the comments about the mass of the house. We will take those in earnest and we'll see what we can do. I would point out that the house is already over 1,000 feet under what we would be entitled to build according to the building envelope that the chief building inspector gave us. But I understand and I appreciate all your good comments, and we will look at all of those, including the size of the house when we come back the next time. But I just want to emphasize the reliance point by me, to the extent that has any relevance to you, that I did invest in this property based specifically on a ruling by the chief building inspector as to what my building envelope would be. That's the only thing.
Okay, so I appreciate that. And as I said at the beginning, we are not arguing as to what this is. The building department deems it a barbell lot. It is a barbell lot. The building inspector, just to, not to parse words, but the building department does not make a ruling. This administrative body does not make rulings. It approves or denies. The building department reviews the code. And to the extent that he advised you that it met code, so be it. Then, and that's what theoretically can be built. The Architectural Review Board has the authority given to it by the trustees to approve or deny a property, and in this case, within the historic district, a certificate of appropriateness based on its judgment of what should be built. So there's, and I've often said this, so this is not new to anybody who's listened. There's a difference between what can, what should, and we're in the should part, the administrative part of it. That's why I was specific in referring to that section of the code, which which defines what's within our purview, including scale and mass. So the comments that Dan and Lori, you heard this evening, had to do with the mass and the scaling and the application of the code as it's written for this board. So we will operate within our purview and authority. The comments that you heard tonight reflect that. With that, let me turn it to see if there's any public comment. And then Lori, you or Dan can have a final say before we adjourn. Okay, so any public comment?
The first hand up is Sammy?
Yep.
Yes, good evening, board members. Thank you for allowing me to comment on this application. Generally speaking, again, consistent with what you just mentioned, Jeff, I'm not going to challenge the square footage of this house. As Mr. Brockett mentioned, there was a building department call on that as far as what the lot coverage is and so forth. So even though I think that as far as the intent of the law, this could be challenged, but in my comments tonight, I'm not going to address that. Again, going back to the whole notion of size of houses in this village are consistent with the size of its lot. But being that this is a barbell lot, it's basically transferring, for lack of better words, air rights from another portion of the lot to this lot. So the question is that how do we deal with this scale and massing of this house? Height of the house is definitely a contributor to this mass. We could definitely drop the height of the house at certain areas. The amount of light has been reduced by size of some of the windows, but we still have the second story glass on the south side in the living room area, which is a whole span of it. I would suggest that that could be more consistent with the other second floor lights and windows and be reduced in line with the bedroom windows. Also, the whole notion of this building, the front yard, rear yard, the garage, because of the shape of the lot, what we consider in this application of front yard is actually technically is the side yard of this building. Also, the portion that is facing me in the south is not the rear of the house, but the side yard of the house. And these two, both the front and the back of the house, are sitting basically 35, 40 feet away from the property line, which is usually the side of a house. And the side of the house usually is the narrower side of the house. It's the bulk of the house on the that faces the front and the rear yard. And that is not the case in this application. So again, any attempt to reduce the scale of this house on the upper portion of it would be appreciated. Whether that would mean engaging the roof more into the rooms on the second floor by lowering it, definitely reducing that second floor living room window size. And again, there are balconies both on the west side of this property. There's two sets of balconies. I don't know what kind of access or what kind of activity is going to occur on those balconies at 35, 40 feet away from the property line. But any reduction of impact of this building on the neighboring properties. And again, to Mr. Brockett, you are sitting basically in the heart of our backyard, which is where we have peace and quiet. And by coming and building this building over there, you're introducing a whole lot of other elements such as front yards, garages, in a backyard that usually are not there. So further attempts in that category that I just mentioned would be appreciated from my perspective. As far as landscaping, from what has been proposed, 10 to 12 feet trees is going to take another 10 to 12 years so that I would not see this house. So any increase in the caliper of these trees to further screen it in the context of it being a larger house would be appreciated. And I don't know if the architectural board can have any say on that. Again, I would suggest that as a way of protecting us in our backyards. Thank you.
Do you want me to address each individual person, or do you want me to wait until everybody's spoken?
Let's wait. Okay. And
Okay,
then-
Nika, you're next. Sorry, Jeff.
No, that's okay. That's good.
Hi, everybody. Nika Strunk, 37 Windmill Lane, Southampton, New York, for Marianne Ty, who is has LLCs that own the 3 lots to the east, and I'm also jointly representing Siamek, who just spoke a few moments ago. Most of what I was going to say, Siamek has covered. I think that as far as the design is concerned, just to sort of put a mark on what Siamek was saying, if you look at what is effectively the front elevation where the front door is, that has a side yard, that's considered a side yard and has a side yard setback. And same with the rear elevation, which is the side that faces the south, which is Siamek's side. Maybe a site plan could help to show that. But so this house is designed sort of sideways. And obviously that's to fit as much house as possible into this very unusually shaped lot. So I think that that's something that the board can consider is the the appropriateness of the overall design to the shape of the lot, how it sits, vis-a-vis the other properties. This is whether it's technically a flag lot, yes, thank you, that's very helpful. So whether it's technically a flag lot or not, this house, as Siamek mentioned, sits among many, many backyards. And the village has very specific zoning that applies to flag lots, and that's particularly why. In fact, it would normally in this zoning district, this portion of the lot that the house is being built on would have to be, I think I said last time, was 150,000 square feet, and it's about a third of that. So it's incredibly undersized, and I think that the board can take that into consideration within all of its powers under both its architectural review powers and the certificate of historical appropriateness. The balconies, the second floor balconies, are highly objectionable to my clients. We appreciate the window reduction. I think Siamek made he knows more about this than I do. He made a few comments on that. I think that more could be done. The landscaping, definitely to screen a house of this size that is so massive and so close to neighboring properties, requires much more substantial sized material than the 10 to 12 foot that I believe is specified. And just in overall, the size of the house is not appropriate to the lot that it's to the portion of the lot, the effective lot that it's sitting on. So those are our points, and something can be done.
Okay, can I?
Okay, let me just say something. So size is not the purview of this board. We're very specific. I ask that everybody read the code carefully, look at the words that apply to us, Scale is one of them, okay? Size is not, okay? So I will turn it back to Lori and Dan. You can comment to the board. I'd like there not to be an interchange necessarily among the neighbors. And again, this board accepts the zoning as the building department put it. If there's an issue that takes place elsewhere, that's among the parties involved. But this board is just looking at it from the context of the application and administration of Chapter 65.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one or two quick points. With respect to the balconies, one of the balconies is purely decorative. There is one balcony on the side of the pool. We are proposing to provide a screen, very high screens. We're going to start probably, if we can find them, with 10 to 12 foot arborvitaes, as well as a row of evergreens there. Those, I'm told, grow at about 3 feet a year. I would also note that if the neighbors want additional screen in the interim, of course, they're free to put that up on their own property. But the neighbors, at least one of the neighbors who are complaining has a second floor balcony. Second floor balconies exist on houses throughout the village. And I believe Lori may have some more statistics on this, but there are 5 or 6 second floor balconies in houses in the immediate vicinity on pasture and other houses. So at least having one second floor balcony is important to us. I think that the screen that we're proposing should be more than adequate to solve any privacy issues. I guess, yeah, that's all the only point I wanted to make.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Has the idea of having this sunken tennis court on the corner of Ox Pasture and Halsey Neck been approached to the zoning board?
Yes, the zoning board approved that. The neighbors disputed that. The prior owners sought a variance to put the tennis court there. The same neighbors opposed that. It went to the zoning board. The zoning board ruled.
Okay. All right, we're not going to get into the zoning board issues, but to answer your question, yes, the zoning board approved it. I just want to cut the conversation because I don't want to get into the other boards, but yes, it was approved a few years back. Dan, second floor balconies, and I don't expect watching our board meetings every other Monday night to be something that you do. But if you and Lori had, you would be aware that second floor balconies are a consistent concern of this board. And we may very well, going forward, ask you to provide a line of sight to the neighbors. Again, second floor balconies, this board has been very consistent to have that as a concern regarding privacy, as well as any light issues and so on. But anyway, so Lori, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did just want to reiterate that the screening that we're planning, it has generally a 3 to 5 year. I'm sorry. It grows 3 to 5 feet a year. I'm sorry, I'm tired. And as far as the second story screening, the second floor deck, there are 6 properties, 2 properties that do adjoin this property have second story balconies. In this one block that this house sits, there are 6 second story balconies. I have pictures of them. One is in line of sight of my house, which is the one of the neighbors who's complaining. It runs on the, it's the house that looks like a salmon color house. That house has the second story deck, and then it's on the east and the west side of the property. Like I said, I am aware of your privacy practices.
Right.
That's why
But
the sight line, Laurie, I think would be really, really helpful, because those other properties may have balconies, but what we don't have in front of us right now is the proximity of those balconies to the property lines of the other.
okay, I will get that for you for the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, so so it sounds like there's a bit more work to do. Lori, do you think
I would
you
request
be
an adjournment, please.
to the next meeting, or do you think do you want to go be?
For tonight, for the next meeting, I'll speak to Dan privately, and then
Okay.
we'll see if it's going to change.
Okay, great. Fair enough. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. So
you.
I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on the agenda. Number 8 is Brookside Enterprise at 276 Hill Street to construct a pool house. This is a new application. So Alice, how do we stand on affidavits?
We received the affidavits and they're in order.
Okay, thanks. Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, and you'll have to get their name because they put a business name up instead. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, tell us who you are, your firm and who you represent and where you're based.
Yes. My name is Richard Sammons. I'm principal of Fairfax and Sammons Architects. We're based in New York City.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your first name.
Richard Sammons.
Oh, okay, Richard, thanks.
We're based in New York City. The applicant is also listening in tonight. Her name is Ann Prosser.
Okay, great.
If that's a necessity.
Am I on? Am I on?
You
I
are here. I'll
unmuted.
send you a link to start your camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only a necessity because your plans did not have the address, but we figured it.
We can give you the address.
No, I know.
Oh, you have the address.
We just don't want that as part of the record. So.
Okay, great. Okay, so go ahead, share with us what you want to present.
Okay. Can we just go to the site plan first?
Here's our pool house.
Okay, just for the record, they're sharing their screen, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
So the pool house is located at the extreme south of the lot, obviously within the setbacks. It's a one-story building, and it's a small building, smallish building with basically shingled cottage with a pergola in front of it, and then a pool in front of that, which has already been permitted. It sits behind the 1950s.
Somebody may have to mute their microphone. I don't know whether it's you, Ann, or whether it's Richard, but we're getting feedback.
I got it. I muted them, Jeff.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. The offending party has been muted, justly muted. And the pool house sits behind a 1950s basically Homes for Heroes type Cape Cod, which may or may not be replaced or tarted up, but they are in the same vocabulary. And if we would go to the, let's just go to plan, we have to blow the house. This is such a small little thing. We'll have to blow the plan up in order to see it. But it consists basically of a gym, a wet bar, a sauna, and an outdoor shower. And it has a fireplace because that's just lovely to have. Next, the roof plan. As you can see, the roof plan, the main body of the building, and I could read those dimensions there.
16.
So the main body of the building is a 16 by
22.
22. So it's a small building, and the main part of the building doesn't get anywhere near the setbacks. It's the pergola that gets close to the setbacks. It is a kind of a trapezoidal shaped lot, so the pergola can be a little wider than the main body of the building. Let's just go straight to the larger elevations. Here are the 4 elevations. I blow those up so that you can see them. The front elevation, it has the pergola in front of it, and there's a pediment with a lunette above that.
Okay, just the front elevation is the north elevation. So if you just, yeah, Richard, if you just use directions, that would be helpful.
Yes, so
Okay.
that's the north elevation. And so it's basically ornamented with a pediment and a lunette window, and it has 2 doors, one to the sauna and bathrooms, the other to the wet bar area.
Mhm.
And then the side elevation, which would be the west elevation, and you can see there, that shows the outdoor shower. The east elevation below that has 2 windows into the main room, which is a gym. And the rear elevation has, basically a single 15 light door and 2 sashes next to it, forming a kind of a bank of windows there, and then the single 6/6 window on the other side. Again, just very sort of standard colonial Cape Cod details. The shutters are operable. It is white cedar shingles with a red cedar roof, and it's a typical kind of combo in white trim. Next.
Okay.
And just the sections, if you're at all interested. And next. A larger view of the section.
So just, Richard, just quickly, you started mentioning the materials, the siding, the roof.
Yes.
The windows.
Let's go to it.
And the coloring. You can
Well,
just run down
weathered
that very
gray.
quickly.
Just the weather, shingles will be left to weather, and they're white cedar, so we go that nice gray, sort of Nantucket-y kind of gray. And the trim is just white trim, very box standard.
Okay, great. Board members' comments?
Oh, I wish that every building was parted up and like, I wholeheartedly approve it, and your wall ratio, your materials, and hooray, hooray. Thank you.
Okay, anybody want to add to that?
Ditto.
Okay,
I think it's completely appropriate and lovely.
okay. All right, so that sounds like a rave. Any public comment? Okay.
There are no hands up, Jeff.
All right, so normally Richard and Ann, we would move to approve. But as Alice said at the beginning of this, because there wasn't proper noticing on the village website, we will hold this open for any written comment, correct, Alice?
Correct.
And then at the next board meeting, we will move to accept the application. So for tonight, we adjourn it, Alice, is that correct?
Yeah, so this would actually have to be closed for a written determination.
Oh, that's right. It's, sorry. So it's really not going to affect you, Richard, or Ann, one way or the other. We'll just basically, as Alice is writing it up, in the meantime, we'll officially, well, in the written decision, it doesn't matter, really. We would move to written decision. So you're going to draft up a written decision.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
So you're going to move to close for written decision.
Yeah.
We just, we'll close the record at the next meeting and
Gotcha.
and get it drafted in time for the next meeting. And there's no written comment that concerns anyone. We can simultaneously adopt.
Okay, so that, so I would, the motion would be to close this for discussion and subsequent written decision, correct?
Yeah. So we'll go ahead, John.
No,
So
go ahead.
we vote now or the next time to close it.
Yeah, so we're not going to close it. We're going to adjourn for tonight, and we're going to hold the record
Okay.
open comment until the next meeting.
I like the way she said that. Who wants to second what she just said?
Second.
Not
I
even
can't
late
Second
yet. I
by
mean-
Peter. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Ann, thank you, Richard. Good design. Okay, let's move on, folks. So driveway gates historic. Let's see if the gentlemen for DCK and Paul Fagan are here this evening. Are they?
I don't see those names
Okay.
and there's no hands up, so.
Okay, so this is at least the third time
Yeah.
that we've called these, so.
You do have one phone call, Jeff. I wouldn't know if that was them.
No, it's a way of asking.
Yeah, I will have to allow them to talk and we'll find out. Hello, caller. Are you in for an application tonight? And
Sure.
there's no
Go on
answer,
mute.
so I'm going to assume not. Okay, Jeff?
Okay, so Alice, this now is, again, at least the third time this has been on the agenda and this, a no-show. So we adjourn with prejudice, we strike it from the agenda. We deny the application. What do we do?
Well, we did say at the last meeting that we, at the very least, would require that they repost and renotice if there were a no-show again. I do note that there is an existing gate at DCK Wyndham.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's prudent to, strike it from the agenda and make them resubmit because, we probably want some remedy too.
Right. So I would like to see the board draft a letter and that it be in the file that the building inspector take action on the illegal driveway gate. Or I should say driveway gate that has not been approved. So I'll put that in a motion. I move that the board advise the building department to take appropriate action, notify the resident and take whatever actions are within their power regarding this unapproved gate.
That's for 35 Herrick Road.
That's for DCK Wyndham 35 Herrick Road. Yes.
Mhm.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by John Gregory. Gregory, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, great. And then Paul Fagan, that has yet to be erected. I hope Mr. Fagan does not erect a gate. And so that I move that we adjourn and advise the applicant to renotice before subsequent hearing. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter. Again, all in favor? Aye. Okay, all right. I hope that takes care of that. Okay, let's move on to public hearings. Non-historic Heart of Hamptons has been adjourned, standing in adjournment pending site approval. The next one then is 31 Roscoe Drive. And is the applicant here for that?
Yep.
Okay,
Haley Willis is coming in and Frank DeVito.
okay.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good. Give Jeff a second to come back,
Okay, great,
if you
thanks.
don't
Hi,
mind.
Jeff.
No, so
Hello, everybody.
Haley, good seeing you again. Introduce yourself. Frank, the same thing, but just for the records, folks, just introduce yourselves.
I'm Haley Willis of the Adam Miller Group, 2462 Main Street, Bridgehampton.
Okay,
I'm
and
Frank
Frank,
DeVito. Frank DeVito, representing 31 Roscoe, 60 Little Plains, Southampton.
okay. So where are we on this, folks, in terms of the design, the materials?
The bulk of our comments from a couple weeks ago were dealing with the vertical siding on the house. And it was revealed during that discussion that a major objection to that material is the stark contrast between the white of the second story and the natural wood siding that we have on the first story. So over the last couple of weeks, there have been samples that Frank dropped off at the building department for you all to review and see in person some different options for staining and treatment of that first story vertical siding, which was the recommendation at the last meeting. So if I have some photos, it's not as good as the real thing, but I have photos of the samples that I could share on the screen, and Frank can run through what each of the materials.
That would be great,
Also,
Haley.
I don't want it to be lost that it wasn't, there was more than that. The windows were and remain an issue. And other board members may have other issues, so.
Why do we keep seeing the plan with the same windows over and over and over again?
Because at the last meeting, they retracted their prior agreement to put in the original windows. So you leave us the option, therefore, just to vote on that which you presented. So why they want to do it, John, that's their decision. It's our vote. So
We're trying to
we'll-
tackle the remaining, open issues point by point, a little bit systematically. So
Okay.
it's been a couple
Okay.
weeks. We're going to try to decide. We know what windows, the windows are either what we proposed or what was originally approved. So to that extent, we know what our options are for the windows. We know what we're dealing with
The
the
idea is to
options.
continue to drag this out week after week, meeting after meeting.
No, that's not our intention.
This is a
Okay.
waste of our
All
time
right.
at this at one.
Well,
But
as you
we're
know,
not looking for this.
Had
John.
we needed to revise the plans, we would have been
Okay.
coming back 2 weeks from now. In the meantime, we dropped off the samples of the building
Right,
department
okay.
to review. We'd like to
Okay.
talk about those.
at the end of the day, John, and other board members, again, as I said the last time, the time that's being taken by this is all the doing of the applicant. The applicant cannot and will not get a C of O to transact this building unless they have an approval, and they don't have that now. So how they want to use their time, I'll leave it up to them. We'll try to be as expeditious
apologize,
as
yeah.
possible.
Let's just let them present and move on.
Okay.
Thank you. Is it okay if I share my screen? I'll
Yeah.
show these images. And I hope everyone did have the chance to see these, because I don't know if the pictures are really that, if they show everything that we really want to see. Okay, so this was the first sample. Frank, do you want to explain what this one was?
We have two paint samples on this. This is a fully painted. One of them if you're looking at the screen to the left, is a white. The other one is a light gray, Farrell and Ball historic gray color, just to add maybe a little, not as stark white on that first level. So those were two options to put there. So we can go with the white, which matches the upper shingles, or we could add a little gray to the lower level, tinted out. It's a Farrell and Ball historic gray color, and it could be an option for a paint color on there.
Here's another.
That is the siding as it stood when we first put it up. So that is when it first went up with just the oil on it. I don't know if Haley got the pictures with the age as it's aging. So this is the siding as it's aging right now. In just a few months, it was up. So this is as the oil's wearing off and it's lightening up and what it's turning into. So then we came up with two other. Oh, this is the natural sample to compare to the other.
Worse.
This here, this is a semi-solid stain. So this is a white semi-solid stain. You see the brush strokes, you see the material like kind of bleeding through. And then the last one is a solid stain. That's just a solid white stain from Benjamin Moore, exterior white. This is what we're looking at right now for the siding. And then the doors, depending on what we decide for the siding, then the doors will either be a painted or stay natural. Look at that like that. If you have any comments, we would love to hear them.
So what are you proposing?
Well, we're here. We saw this sort of as an opportunity to collaborate on this option because we don't, the house is the way that Frank would have built it. So to the extent that we want to incorporate your input, any of these options, this is another reason that we didn't come back with a full set of revised plans because we didn't make a choice. We wanted to give you the opportunity to see a few different options.
And Jeff, unless I'm mistaken, it's not our role to design their homes for them. It's their, you know, I think we've made our opinions so clear over the last 6 months on this project. So this is a multiple choice now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult, if a difficult spot you've put us in, Frank. The house that is built is a house that was not approved. Vertical siding was not approved. Teak was not approved. So Frank, let me finish. So now, gentlemen and ladies of the board, lady of the board, you know, and then there's a whole issue as to whether or not painting is meaningful. I mean, paint could be stripped down. For all I know, somebody else could paint over it.
Not without ARB approval.
Well, painting, I think you can paint the house any color you want. That doesn't require ARB approval. So we're looking at this at new construction. I say in this case, John, you know, if they're asking us for their input and they have to come back, I'm willing to have the board chime in, because otherwise we're going to just, as you say, continue wasting, in this case, everybody's time. If Frank wants to waste his time, that's his business. But okay, so
I think we could have come back 5 times, you know,
yes,
time showing a new one of these options until we got to the one
your
you liked best.
As Jeff said earlier, that is totally your choice.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, that's what we're trying to avoid. We were trying to get feedback on all the options at once.
So if they were presenting it to us de novo, I ask you folks to pick out the color that works. If any of this works for you, for all I know, you could be saying, vertical siding is not what we would approve. We would approve the cedar shingle siding. Again, the house doesn't exist. So they're presenting a choice of a few colors. Either pick one, vertical, accept vertical siding or not. So Mark, Sarah, Peter, chime in.
Well,
The comment, oh, sorry.
I'm waiting for Peter because part of this was a suggestion.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
No, I realized that, they could scrape it off another time, like the neighbor brought that up. But, once you paint teak, you're ruining it. It's a shame. It's beautiful wood, but, it really doesn't fit, we think, with the neighborhood. I'm fine with the painted white, and I'm fine with keeping the vertical siding and painting it. Let's put it that way, or staining it. And I like white, but I don't feel like dictating the color. I feel like, I don't know. Somebody's got to else speak up.
I'm sort of where I've always been. I think the prairie windows are wrong and need to go back to the original. And I actually think the house should be shingled. I could be persuaded if they were painted white so it disappeared, if the board was a majority on that, but I think the windows are wrong and need to be redone.
And I am in agreement with Mark that the windows need to be as originally designed, as well as the cedar siding.
Okay, Sarah, any thoughts?
Well,
from you?
part of my objection was the contrast, the extreme contrast between the teak and the white. And I hate the idea of painting teak, but I think that even if the colors could be ameliorated, and I don't even really see white, I sort of thought that something a little more earthy was going to be coming our way, but that's just me.
Sarah, I wanted to get some earthier colors and I just could not get the colors to come through with the condition of the teak right now. So it would have been another contrast. So my vote is, my preference is to use a penetrating white stain because of the longevity. If I paint this, it's a maintenance for the client. So if I use the penetrating white stain, first off, no one is sanding down to get that out. And two, I'm creating something that is not a maintenance for the client. So I would propose the white solid stain that I presented in there.
Okay, so
That's my proposal.
we hear you saying that. So to Haley's point, now that you've heard the board's comments, it's back to you, Haley and Frank, to come back with a set of plans that you want this board to vote on to either approve or deny. It's pretty clear that the windows that you've presented thus far will not get a vote. So I think that would be a royal waste of everybody's time. But if you want to present that, then that's your call. And I think you could tell which way the vote would go.
I want to make just one comment on the windows, Jeff. Just one comment.
Sure.
So I get prairie style is not going through the board. I understand that. But this, to me, is not a small, light style house. 6/1, I believe, is wrong. So if you tell me 4/1, 2/1, if you keep your eyes open, look at the plans. 2/1, 4/1, a bigger light window is the correct thing. So that is the correct, that I see the correct design for this house.
All right, so to come back with what you want to present, and then we'll discuss it at that point. You've heard the board's comments innumerable amount of times, so I'm not going to argue that here. Haley knows what she has to do. Let me see if there's any public comment.
No hands up, Jeff.
Okay, so suffice it to say that there was a public comment. It is in the file. it addressed the issue. I'll summarize it rather than reading it, that the color, if the teak were to be painted or stained, it could otherwise be changed back. I realize that if you stain it, that's less likely, but it is a concern. But at this point, we're at the point of where Haley and Frank come back with something you want us to vote on, and then we'll discuss it at that point.
Let me ask Peter, let me just ask Peter something. Peter, this window design on this house, do you see it as a larger light design? It is, it has more Frank Lloyd Wright kicks than it does, you know. Do you see a larger window, a 4/1, a 2/1?
I know I like the 6/1 that was presented first, but I haven't seen the others, so I
Frank,
can't say that it would be wrong.
So you got to come back to us with that which you want to present and have us vote on, okay? And we'll see what if it works or not. So, okay, so you're asking for an adjournment?
Yes, and thank you for your feedback on the siding, and we'll come back with something to really look at.
And the windows. Haley, don't forget the windows. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Haley, that's in before the meeting Thursday by noon.
Yes,
Okay.
we may have to adjourn, but for now, we'll just stick with the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. Do I have a second on? Oops, sorry, that was the second from Winnie. Sarah seconds. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, great.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right, thank you,
Have a
Haley.
good night.
Thank you, Frank.
Take care.
Okay. Okay, folks. So Margaret Lewis at 63 Dale Street had requested an adjournment, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn. Right, Jackie? She adjourned?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, then the next application is number 4 on the hit list of SKV Wickapog Road, LLC 508 Wickapog. Okay, so with the applicant for that, come on down.
See you, Lou is coming in. I think she shares her screen, right, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes, she does very well, and Peter has screen envy.
Okay, I see you.
Hi, good evening, board member. This is
Hi,
Celia.
see you.
Hi.
Tell us who you are, even though we know you well.
Yes, I'm the architect for 508 Wicker Park. I have here my favorite client, and he would like to do a little introduction, and here he is.
Good evening, board members. I'd like to address myself, Joe Ruperto. I know some of you guys, most I don't. I am the owner of 508 Wicker Park.
Tell us who you are.
Joe Ruperto,
Okay.
owner of 508 Wicker Park Road. First, I'd like to thank the board for all their ideas, suggestions, comments, which we tried our best to address, and I believe we finally got it right. It's been a long road. We've made many changes to the original house, which I believe is truly for the best. This is our 5th meeting, and I actually like all the changes that the board has proposed. The only last change and request, I believe, was the roof over the garage in the southwest corner, which I think tonight we finally got it right. I truly hope the board would make a decision tonight so we can get our project started. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm gonna start to do share screen. Okay. And here are the roof that was in question is the roof over the garage right here. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. And it's on this corner. and we did a hip roof, and also on the north, southwest corner and this corner, which you also did a hip roof. And then on the right, we can see the rear elevation here, where the hip roof is in the southwest corner. And then the garage, we also did a hip roof. And then if I would show the rendering, let me see if I can move this around. So that this is the rendering. On this side, we show the hip garage, and on the other side, we show the hip northwest corner, southwest corner of the roof in the back.
Well, you look at, it's still the north, for me, it's the north east corner and the southwest corner that still bother me. If you look at the west elevation, what you have on the north side of the west elevation looks great. And I know it's that jog that we spoke about last time. And I thought Alex had found a reason why you didn't have to do that jog.
And I did had a conversation with him. It was mistaken. It cannot be done.
All right, well.
The house is maximizing its footprint. I thought there was a way that it could.
You can't like push the projecting volume back a foot and the recess volume forward a foot, or split the difference so it's the same area.
Oh yeah, because I need to turn into the garage. That's
no, I'm sorry, the other side, the northeast side. I mean, sorry, yes. I'm sorry, the northwest side, northwest, that's what I was speaking of.
Understood, because I need to turn into the garage here, so I need to have 35 feet or whatever. That's why
I understand, yes.
That's why I cannot move the house.
I understand, sorry, yes. Okay, well, there's that for me. And then on the northeast, just still find it choppy. I would love to see that hip just return and just be a simple hip skirt around the second floor.
Well, the thing is that the roof in the back has a very shallow pitch because it's a shallow pitch right here. You can see that. Yeah. If I follow that pitch, this looks very flat. It doesn't look good. We did try. I can show it to you.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can see if I really turn it around to match the other roof, it's really doesn't look good. That's why it's I did the return, but it doesn't really match exactly the other pitch.
All right. Well, let's hear what other people say.
Well, what I would like to say, really, the house is 80 feet setback from the street, and then I hate to say the house is not perfect, but like what the garage is gonna probably be hidden from view from the street, and so is the southwest corner. I really tried my best, and I couldn't really think of another thing out of my head, and if I don't redo the whole thing. So I'm really kind of right this moment pleading now is really I ran out of tricks.
Peter, can you just clarify for my benefit? Were you talking about the, let's see, the northeast second floor roof line?
No, the first floor, sorry. First floor. The roof over the garage.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. Looks choppy.
But yeah, I totally understand that we're not perfect here, but I'm trying to say, I couldn't think of other way. And plus we are like really 80 feet away from the street. And this is one story, and it's far at the corner, and please let me go.
No, in all fairness to you, this was farmland. You can see from Wickapog practically to the ocean. So you can surely see 80 feet. I don't mean to, so it is visible from the street. And I think Peter's concern is a legitimate concern. And I think when you add that to the second floor bump out, and I don't know if anybody has any concerns about the second floor bump out, but when you sort of put it all together, I can't describe it as well as Peter can, but yeah, choppy is probably an apropos word. Anyway, but as Peter was saying, other board members, please comment.
Even the side opposite the garage, like I guess that's the northwest side. That drop of the roof line just seems so odd to me. It's like a bird with a broken wing. It doesn't look balanced for some reason. And that's not an architectural term, obviously. But I just think it looks awkward.
I agree with John. That falling roof line, and what you have on page A5 is your proposed front elevation on the right-hand side, which is the west side facing the front. Just looks like a mistake.
I'm sure it relates to
we're so close. We've come so far. We've come so far. It's just that these two little things to keep it from being a great house.
Yeah, and you know that
I wonder, and as Joe said,
Jeff, can I say something?
Yeah,
Can I
well,
say
actually, let me get my thought out, Joe, because it does pertain to you. I know Joe has come before this board. He's developed some very nice houses. So there's no question about his ability to put together a nice house. I also know that Joe likes to build as much house as he can, and he's perfectly entitled to do that. So I'm not arguing about that. But I think in this particular case, trying to maximize the square footage, and whether that's your intent or not, I don't know, but I just feel, I think what you're hearing from the board at least is by trying to maximize the square footage, that you're adding things to it or making accommodations. Even your architect is saying it's not perfect, which is, you don't like to hear an architect say that. And I'm not taking you to task, CU, but maybe you're trying to accomplish too much.
Well,
with this house.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Okay, guys. So we've done every request that you guys have asked. We minimized the glass. We've changed, I don't know, 8 or 9 things from the original house that we really wanted to do. And I mean, the only option that we have here, it's not a big house. It really isn't. I believe it's 5,600 feet. First and second floor, it's on an acre. I do have setbacks, as you know, Jeff and Peter. I'm not a roof expert. I built only 35, 40 houses, but I know that we can only do so much. And every time we come back in front of you guys, you keep pushing us. I don't know what else to do. I mean, you've changed my whole house around, which I'm okay with. But, it was just the roof. We did the roof. You wanted a hip. Peter, I respect you. I know you're a great, great architect, and I know you know what you're talking about. But remember, this is behind 15-foot hedges on an acre, farm fields behind us. The garage roof, you really won't see, Jeff. You won't see it. The southwest roof is in the back of the house. I mean, are you really going to make me design another house? Because you guys are really, I don't know what to do. I changed the landscape. I changed the driveway. I changed the windows. I'm changing the roof. I'm taking out staircases. You redesigned my whole house.
Well, I really understand where you're coming from, Joe. And I don't think I think it's just we have 2 corners. I think the rest of the house is fine.
Okay, tell me what to do, Peter. You have to tell me what to do.
Well, I did last time.
And we tried.
Again, being so prescriptive is discouraged, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
I really believe that the skirt surrounding the northeast corner of the house should be consistent, the same eave line. It's just wrap a hip roof around the second floor.
Northeast or southwest?
I'm sorry, the northeast corner, the garage, over the garage.
Garage, okay.
Yeah, if we just did a hip
Tell me.
roof that, yeah, if a hip roof that wrapped around and didn't pop up over the garage. The same.
I have it not pop up, and I really think it doesn't look good. If the board wants me to do this,
if that's what he wants.
I would do it, but you can see it doesn't look as good.
Well,
I
mean, what you're on the screen now doesn't look good to me. I mean,
yes, so that's why
Okay.
I leave it up. Like if you say I want to use exactly the same roof in the back, it's really it's
no,
low.
but can't you, excuse me, can't you take the eave that's on the north portion, the first floor eave in the north portion, can't you just wrap that around and meet the porch eave in the back?
Well, the thing is that at the very beginning, we were told to lower eave line. So I lowered the eave line. So the
And you
eave
did,
line over
yes.
the garage
Right.
here is lower than the house.
No,
So
it's
this is-
perfect. If you could
This
just
is a,
connect,
this
He
is a
wants to
lower
wrap this
eave
around.
line.
yes, if you could just connect that eave line to the eave line of the porch at the southeast corner.
Okay.
Just connect those eave lines and then put a hip roof on top. I think you'd have it. Can the porch and the garage eave line, the rear porch and the garage eave line at the front be the same so they can join?
So
And
then this eve line in the front of the house would not be low. It will be actually matching.
Well, but it's
the
still,
height of the
it's not too, I don't think that's too high. I mean, I think that's a dimensional difference. I think that's okay. I really think it's important that the eave lines meet and make a consistent skirt. That's what I think. And I don't mind that eave line gets a foot higher in the front. I mean, it will still distinguish itself from the second floor eave line. You know, it's still in relationship is lower.
Okay, well, let's not design that here.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no. Actually, your suggestions are fine. I'm just saying, see you, don't
No,
design
this
it on
eave
the
line
screen.
cannot be exactly at the same height as the porch in the back because it is stepped back, so it'll be higher.
No, just go straight across. Straight across. And if you have to do an overhang over the garage, do an overhang.
Right.
It seems to me that a very simple solution is at hand. And
Okay, what you
So-
mean
so
is are you suggesting I pull the porch out too?
yes, exactly. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And make the eaves the same height. I don't care if it's a foot lower, you know, because it will have the effect. I mean,
Let's not actually.
gotta be fine.
I see where Peter's going, and I can see the validity in what he's saying.
I really think
Okay,
you're fine.
That's like a 4 foot of overhang on the garage though.
Okay, let's not actually do the design work here. So you've got a general direction on that. Are there any other directions or concerns, board members?
Well, I just wanted to address the southwest corner again.
Okay, go.
The southwest, yeah, okay, can we switch it so we see it from the north? I'm sorry, see you, yeah. This is very, as Jeff said, I have screen envy very much that you can do this. But yeah, could you just turn it around towards the north so we can see a bit of the north elevation? The north facing the street?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yeah, it's
got
okay,
it
I
wrong. I
understand.
got it like a west.
Yeah, okay, so this elevation, perfect. What John was referring to was a broken ring, and I think that's a completely apt metaphor. I believe that would go away if that shed roof, if that roof were repeated. If you just mirrored that elevation, mirrored the north half of the west elevation, if you mirrored that on the south half of the west elevation, I think it would be perfection. Now, I know you have to adjust your plan, but I don't see why you can't split the difference between the projection and the recess. You know, if it's a 4 foot projection, can you make the whole facade at a median 2 feet? You understand? I understand the area constraints, But that's, I think if that little shed roof that you got your cursor on were repeated on the north end of the backyard, we wouldn't have that broken wing thing because it would repeat itself. It would be symmetrical.
So he wants to keep this.
And I
You want to
think it
keep
actually-
that. You want to keep that shed roof is what you're saying, Peter.
Yes, and I'd like to see it on the north, I'm sorry. Oh God,
On the south.
I don't quite, I don't
Southwest.
quite get it.
He wants to.
Yeah, I
keep
think
it.
that's successful, but I think that you should repeat that on the southwest corner.
Go to the southwest corner.
So you want to keep this drop
Yep.
and do it on the south side? too?
Yes, yes, please.
But I
Here and now.
don't think I can, I don't think I can.
Well, if you continue that hip down, the hip that stops at that dormer.
Yep.
If you continue that down to the corner, I know you're going to have to get rid of the recess. I think you've got to compromise on that wall, find an internal solution so that that wall is halfway between the projection and the recess. And then I think you'll be able to solve the elevation to our satisfaction.
Okay, I think those are good suggestions, and from a layman's standpoint, I can see that it simplifies the roof lines and makes it less choppy. So other board members' comments? No? Okay, any
Peter, for clarifying.
Any public comments? Okay, so see you and Joe. You've heard the board's comments. I appreciate you taking them and taking them back. So I assume you want to adjourn. And do you think you could do that by the next meeting, or do you need more time?
No, next meeting.
Okay, great. So I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. A second on that, please. Second by Sarah. All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, see you and Joe. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and really, thanks a lot for all the effort. I know what it
All
takes.
right. Thanks.
Thank you.
It takes a village.
Takes a lot of work.
We are a village. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Okay. Let's see. Nicole Gallagher, 145 Wickapog Road for alterations to an accessory garage.
Another name you have to get. It just says Mike, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Declined. Hold on. Don't decline the promotion, accept it.
Is that career advice?
I'm trying to tell Mike. Hit accept, declined again. Okay, Jeff, if this person doesn't accept, there are no other hands up. So I will attempt it one more time.
Okay. We could do a second call at the end if need be.
Oh, they hit the right button this time.
Mike.
Mike. All right, so here I can send you an unmute. And I can send you a start video. Let's make it easy for you. Hi, you made it.
All right, Mike, introduce yourself and tell us who you are and who you represent and where you're based.
Sure, I'm based in Blue Point at the moment. I represent Mrs. Gallagher. The architect that drew the barn drawings should be joining.
Okay, and Mike, I know we have your screen name. It's Mike. Mike, what's your last name?
I'm sorry, Mike Mandracina.
Okay, Jackie, did you get that?
I have his info. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, Mike, have you had a chance to read the historic consultant's report?
I did, and I want to commend and congratulate Sarah for doing that research that I could never ever do in my lifetime.
Oh, that was actually, Sarah did work on it, and the report was written by Sally. They both do excellent work, but the report was Sally's.
Very interesting, very educational, and I was glad to see photos, because when we acquired the property, the barn was not in the condition, even of the pictures in the 90s. So it does show us where to go. My architect viewed the document, and I believe we can, at the next hearing, come back with drawings reflecting those photos that you found, Sarah and Sally.
Yeah, well, that would be great, Mike. I don't think, Sarah, from your standpoint, is there anything else to discuss tonight?
No, I think that Sally is so exacting with the fenestration patterns and the materials that it should, her suggestion should be pretty easy to follow. And I appreciate your understanding how, you know.
Oh, sure, you have to preserve it, I get it. That picture right there, I just hope I could find these exact windows.
Well, two of the windows were actually on site. So those would be pretty easy to replicate, but I think that your architect should be able to do what she suggested. It's just a shame that work happened.
Yeah, in reference to that, Sarah, I want to remind the board that there was a gentleman on the board 2 years ago that said, do not let that barn fall down. And we were so frightened of it falling down because it was actually so rotten. And the timber, we loved the original timber, but so much of it was eaten by, termites, that if you look at that, I don't know if you could zoom in on that top picture, the left front corner on the bottom. But we wanted to preserve whatever timber we could. So we cut it where it was rotten and left it on the top and just shored up the bottom. So we did make that effort because we did like it. It was a great look.
Well, Sally has also said that we are rapidly losing our historic outbuildings, and that the idea is to the term is sister rather than remove. So I hope that the plan we get reflects everything she suggested. So thank you.
Okay, good. Okay.
So much. Well, and as far as the inside, what are your recommendations for the inside? I didn't quite follow. Other than preserving the existing loft.
Well, I think she's been pretty exact about that too. And she also showed a photograph of how wonderful it is when historic elements are retained both from an interior and an exterior standpoint.
Yeah, I saw that. I would love if it looked like that in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was a really nice report.
Excellent. And that's exactly.
Okay, any public comment?
No, Jeff.
Okay, so Mike, in as much as you suggested you're going to be coming back with new drawings, I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. A second on that.
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, Mike, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, next application.
Jeff, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Who is this Tom Vulpes on the screen here?
I'm the architect for Mike.
Okay, you all
okay.
done?
Yeah,
You're all
yeah.
done? Okay.
Yeah, we
Have a great
post-
night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Number 6, Anthony and Elizabeth Snorre at 117 Wickapod.
Okay, Giuseppe is coming in.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, Giuseppe. Again, I know you
Let me know
were
when you
back
guys
for a
are ready.
second time. Tell us who you are, who you represent, where you hail from.
Yes, good evening. So my name is Giuseppe Adragna. I am the architect for Mr. and Mrs. Signore, 117 Wickapog Road. My office is based out of Mineola, and we are returning from the last hearing to today. And basically the comments made from the last hearing revolved around the house not being, let's say, farm-like enough, mostly referring that I had a round entry tower with a metal roof. And also we had arched windows in the back of the house that were 3-tiered. It was large glass pane in the back of the house. So we did make some adjustments. Let's see, the screen. All right, my first move from taking those comments, my first move was to reduce the heavier crown moldings throughout the whole design to a level that's more suitable with the neighbors. And I also immediately removed the front-facing bay window that was on the second floor. These immediately made the house less busy, a little more subtle. And it started to fit in with the white houses on either side of us at just by doing that. But next, the big thing, the big game changer was I was able to propose changing that round tower to an octagon shape. And that octagon shape has a shingle roof. And this also removed the upper transom windows that were in that tower. So it definitely looks a lot less tall. And with the shingle bell curve roof, it fits into the house a lot more smooth. And yeah, the homeowners, they did prefer the original design. It was more sleek, more contemporary, but they're definitely, willing to accept this as a compromise. Furthermore, the rear elevation was also redesigned. The gambrel roof design is now more profound in the rear, and the roof carries through, so there's less of a two-story element. We just flip up to get some windows in that upper space. Whereas before, there you go, this is the drawing where we're proposing what we had and what we're doing. So it was pretty much a full two-story space with a lot of glazing. And now we've reduced the glazing to just that middle portion. And it's pretty much 1.5 stories, or mostly 1 story with just those flipped up windows, because we're keeping that gambrel design. Windows, let's see, windows were, okay, the east side elevation, where there was a comment passed that the windows were scattered and there wasn't enough fenestration, which I did not disagree. We did relook at the windows, we redesigned them, and we added a few just to keep the balance. Furthermore, the brick chimneys, they were changed to be a more traditional design instead of the curved with the chimney cap. And the last thing we did adjust was the gravel driveway. We did reduce it by over 500 square feet. There was a comment made that there was a little too much driveway, or there was a lot of driveway, let's say. And we were able to really reduce it down to 30 feet instead of 40 feet, what we originally had. It is still going to be a gravel that is pervious,
I'm not seeing
but
it.
we're going to keep more grass on the property. Yeah, so that's how we went through the comments and the hearing from last weekend, last hearing. Open to getting some feedback. Oh,
I think it's a dramatic.
I think I did not mention.
Let me turn it over to the board members.
I was just saying, I think it's a dramatic improvement, especially the rear of the rear elevation without that huge arched window. It makes such an incredible difference.
They love the curved, as they did love the curve in the front, but the comment passed that we're farmland and we want to keep it more shingle style. This is, I think we definitely went in that direction, and in my opinion, this is the way I was able to compromise with the homeowners and hit that nail on the head.
Yeah, even the changes of materials on the tower section, I think makes a world of difference as well.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mention, but on the front elevation, there was that pediment that was on the 45-degree angle, that triangular pediment, that's removed. And I think all that drama and busyness to the entry of the building was reduced entirely, and pretty much all that stuff was removed to make it a nice classical shingle house.
Big improvement, I agree.
Thank you.
I still find the multiple eave lines at the second floor, choppy. And if you, see the top of that lower gambrel, that you have an eave, right there.
Mm-hmm.
If that eave line, no, not that one, the one, the gambrel above the double window. No, the flat eave line, the flat.
I am
like
not a
that.
builder.
If you continued that all the way around the tower and into the wing to the south, you would have, I think, a coherent house. It would all blend together. And you've gone a good way getting rid of the ups and downs, the bays and the roof projections into the roof and such. I think that would just make it classic. And if you could just look at regularizing that second floor eave, so it continued if not around the whole house, just, you know, more, instead of going down and then going up and then going up again at the tower. You see what I mean? When you go to the
Yeah.
left, if you're drawing.
Pretty much the only difference I was looking at was the tower. I just needed that to stick up like
Yes,
this
and you know, and
few
I
inches.
agree you should do that, but I think you should
I
make the
definitely hear what you're
difference.
saying, and I'm going to further say that cornice, that eave line that you did mention from the top of the gambrel,
Yeah.
that crown molding piece, I think I could definitely, when you turn to the side, the east elevation, I could have that line up and blend in with the crown molding that goes underneath the.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just raise the crown, I mean, the eave above that double window and the projecting gambrel, maybe just raise that up to the tower eave. You know, that's an option. But I think if it were consistent across, it would be much more attractive.
I think
And
that's
simple.
the only condition that you're calling out as inconsistent. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and it would be consistent with, you know, the farmhouses are simple, you know, they don't have eaves go up and down. They were built by relatively unprosperous people, right? They needed shelter. They didn't fuss like we're fussing today.
Yeah.
So I think that would be more in keeping with, you know, Wickapog. And my other objection is the columns. If they could just be not sort of classical Tuscan, but just posts, just farmhouse posts. But I would like to hear what other people say too.
Yeah, I would think that they could be chamfered posts for that matter. I mean, just simple squared and then chamfered at the cut at the corners. And I wonder if you need. I guess I'm looking at the fact that
if there is an angle and there's an octagonal shape to that porch.
Right, and then that's why you've got so many columns. But I think
there's a dimension to it.
If you simplified the bases and the capitals and chamfered the square corners, I think that that would look a little more agrarian as well.
Okay. The columns were changed to a round column since we're doing an octagonal porch to get all of. I think the square column was clashing with each bend in the porch. So that we moved to round, it seems to be more of a smooth transition.
But it's not something that you would have found on a farmhouse.
So, you know, I would definitely explore looking at the chamfered square. If that's the overwhelming opinion by the board, I would definitely go with that. And I understand let's reduce all the Tuscan capital and Tuscan base.
Right.
To something a little more simple farm style, of course.
You don't need Greek orders on a farmhouse, so that would be great.
Sarah, you're you are more schooled on this than I am. There's been a lot of discussion about making it more agrarian and more farm-like, as some of the other houses are. Is the tower anachronous to that? I mean, I think of octagonal turrets and towers as being more octagonal houses were popular in the mid-19th century and a bit later. So, and then you see them sometimes in Victorian houses, but I'm not, does it work in an agriculture? Agrarian style house?
Not really. It's he softened it, but I'm with you. I mean, if it were the form of a silo or the equivalent, that might be a little more palatable.
Yeah, and I think you're right too, Jeff. It is anomalous, and I guess it's so much better. I mean, in my view, from the one before it, where I'm grateful for that. But how about maybe if it didn't have the OG roof? You know, maybe if it were just a simple pitched roof, you know,
that's just a half round. That's just a plain fascia board with a half round gutter on it. So there's not going to be an OG shape on the.
No, I meant the roof, the shape of the roof. The roof.
Oh, you're saying the curve, the bell curve to it?
Yeah, the bell curve. I would. I'm not sure that would solve it either, but just a suggestion. It would simplify it certainly.
All right. You know, we did start. Once I presented a project, we said it was a farmland, and all the houses on Wickapog are farmhouses, which is a comment. We weren't directed to build a farmhouse, we did want a white shingle style house.
Yeah.
So, and the tower was the first thing the client showed me. This is what we love. We love a tower, an entry piece. And, you know, we started with that sleek direction they wanted. Getting rid of it because it doesn't fit in with a farm style house is not going to be an option for us. I think we did tone it, we blended it, we made it shingle in material and shingle in roof material as well. But eliminating that from the scope and project entirely is going to be a hard sell. And
right. So Giuseppe, just so you know, put our role in context, as you may have heard from listening.
I did. I've been listening earlier.
It's largely to make a judgment related to compatibility. So I appreciate that it's your clients wish to have a turret with a bell shaped roof, but it may not meet the standards of compatibility. And the fact is, we recognize it's no longer farmland, but it's still, that's a part of what the village wishes to continue in that area. So there is a bit of a community obligation to support that. So the suggestions that are being made, what you hear the board saying is you've done a good job of toning it down, but maybe it's out of place in that environment. So if you want to you take the board's comments as you wish. I would like to see, and maybe the board members may or may not agree, but do a rendering of the house as it's going to be presented, and then show us, do a streetscape of 3 houses to the west and 3 houses to the east. And then we can see how it does fit in and do it all in perspective. And then we can go from there.
Good idea.
All right, so in scale, the properties to the east and to the west. All right, I mean, when you're in the street to the east, you're going to see, yes, you'll see the 3 houses. To the west, it's going to be difficult. I'll get all that in, you know, from a human's eye perspective and place my house in there.
Well, I think the elevation could be, you know, an elevation in 2D, but a couple of 3D views of the house would be useful.
Yeah, I had them last time, but I wasn't able to update them in time with new revisions.
Yeah.
And even last time I had a drive-by kind of sort of thing, but I did not have the other properties, which is a major factor here.
Right. So it would help the board in making their judgment to see a 3D rendering in scale, in proportion, properly colored. And then I would also like to see a streetscape with the houses on either side, at least 2, preferably 3, to the east.
Do you want to set
west.
maybe a number of maybe
3,
200
okay.
feet?
3.
200 feet, I'm saying?
No. The houses are already, so you'd end up showing half a house.
No, I know. So, that's why I'm looking at the 3 houses to the west, and it's
Giuseppe, this is something that is fairly common ask.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing.
Okay, no, I know you're not.
Giuseppe, I've done it. It's not so hard. You take your iPhone and you just take pictures and you knit them together, you know, in CAD, and you have to fudge and fake a little bit, but you can do it.
Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Understood.
So let me open it up to public comments if there are any.
No hands up, Jeff.
Okay, so let's, Giuseppe, in as much as you've got a little bit of homework to do and some discussion with your client, I accept your request to adjourn to our next meeting, which will be on the 28th. And do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Giuseppe, and we do appreciate your
All right, guys. You have a great evening.
willingness to work with us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on, folks. So Alana Sirota at 124 Burnett Street.
In comes Eric Peterson. Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Just give Jeff a second to organize.
Okay, no, I'm good.
All right.
Okay.
Hello. So yeah, my name is Eric Peterson. I'm the architect representing the applicant for 124 Burnett Street. And I am coming back tonight. I was hoping if it's possible to share the screen.
Yes.
Yep. Any plans you put up, you have to have submitted to the building department already?
Yes.
Okay, good enough.
So as a refresher, this is the existing front of the house as it is today. And the pool house, which is to remain. And this is the proposed front perspective from the street, showing the balcony removed. And in its place, the patio door that we had leading out to the balcony is just in the hallway now. So that's just 2 casement windows with a flat roof over the entry that we had, similar to last time. The floor plan of that, you can see, doesn't really impact. It was just really the removal of the balcony. And as we move to the back of the house, just in speaking with the client, who it's her intent when the house is renovated and rebuilt, to use it not as a rental, and felt strongly if there was any opportunity to keep some of a roof deck. This was reduced from the 300 square foot plus party deck down to just something over 100 square feet off of the master suite, where we have a existing roof deck to the west and to the south. And I understand it's not customary for the board for this lot size to grant roof decks, but the thought was that we would still present reduced roof deck, and we'd be open to hear comments for that reduction if that was acceptable or not.
Okay. That's it, Eric. Let's see. Can you folks hear me?
Yeah, I think he's
okay.
frozen.
Oh,
I'm sorry, can you hear me? Or
I wasn't sure. Sure. All right, board members, do you have comments? Eric, are you back?
He keeps freezing. He's got a little computer issue. Oh, hello, Eric.
I'm sorry, I was disconnected. I don't know if that.
You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
Sorry.
I'm very pleased with the removal of the deck in the front. And I think it's actually the front facade is a better design. And I thank you for doing that.
Okay. Other board members' comments? Nope.
Really nice looking, it's a big improvement. And I just want to point something out, we always, we lay down, dictums, say like, I've been a big proponent of solid front doors, okay? In this instance, just to show you that rules are meant to be broken, in this instance, because it's fashioned like enclosed vestibule, the glass door is perfect.
Right.
So I just want people to know what we say on one house doesn't look so good, can look completely appropriate in another context.
Thank you.
Well said.
Good point. Thank you. All right, any public comment? No? Okay. So Alice, okay, so Alice, here, are we moving to adjourn? I guess we're moving to adjourn for public comment.
For written comment until the next meeting, at which time the board can pass a motion approving the application.
Okay, so we will adjourn to the next meeting to provide for written comment. At the next meeting, we will vote to approve, move to approve. Do I have a second on that?
Are we approving the back deck, the 10 by 10?
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
What is the distance between that that deck and the property to the west?
Those are small lots.
Yeah, I'm having network issues, so I'm gonna attempt to.
I also got kicked out of the meeting, so it's not just you.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to be delicate because I'm afraid that I might totally kicked out or disconnected. So I'm assuming that, we are closer to maybe 20 something, let me just see if I have a minimum.
Looks
Maybe
about
not
20 feet, 22 feet.
Yeah, something like that at that point.
23 feet.
And it's probably a little, obviously if you were to consider where it's set in more towards, a couple more feet maybe off of that. So let me just see if I can get down to the.
I do appreciate you've reduced the size dramatically. And on a house with bigger side yards, it might be totally acceptable. I just question that given the close proximity of these lots. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but I know the owner wants it.
Right,
I totally
John.
appreciate that.
No, John, I think you're right. I mean, these are tiny lots, and yeah.
And no, I understand that, and I understand it's not consistent with what the board is with these lot sizes. It was just the ask was due to the existing western neighbor and the southern neighbor having a similar size roof deck. I understand opinions change, and obviously the board has that right to make that choice. So that's we attempted to reduce it significantly. They'd even be open to reducing it further if there could be any mention of a roof deck. But that was something that she was very clear that it would not be used as a rental. It would be their home. It's going to be rebuilt, and it was something that they were obviously looking to have as a
Maybe
feature.
that would make the difference. I mean, the width isn't so much an issue from my perspective, the 10 feet. Maybe if it were cut back like this, well, big enough to have like maybe 2 chairs or something. I don't know. Does anyone else feel the same way? Like 10 by 6, is that?
I feel like if they could lose a third of the depth, I'd be happy.
Is it possible to put like a conditional depth on it? I have, of course, rendered a no deck option, right? It doesn't effectively change the appearance other than, we can just push it back to, like if this was 10 feet, if this is 5 feet, like that 6 feet, I think is probably just enough where you could open the door and not,
Right.
it's just, again, it's not going to change the appearance of the house. I will just stretch it back. Is it possible to have a conditional decision tonight? Or I understand it's for next hearing, but just to avoid having to
Really an attractive design. I think it's really nice.
It is.
It's so good
Yeah.
looking.
You're good.
I think if that's, with what you're showing us right now, what's the depth on that deck?
It's 10 by 10.
It is, yeah, just so it, to the railing, it's almost 11 feet. And that's, so it can certainly be cut back to half, like you were saying, 5.5, 6 feet. And I think that would be something that the owner obviously was just emphasizing how important it would be for her. Obviously, she understands that it's more of the exception, but given the neighbors.
So it becomes more of like a Juliet balcony in a way. It's
right.
I would be fine with that if it were like maybe, I'm sure if you've watched these meetings, you've seen some of the conversations we've had about properties that are bigger than this. So
Yeah, so taking it back a bit to make it less a party deck and more a Juliet balcony rather than, but it doesn't have to be a Juliet balcony per se. But the other thing, part of it is, as the rendering showed, it's such an attractive design
Without
that
it.
it's compelling to keep it at some point, is it not? What I think I hear the folks saying.
Yes,
So, yeah.
it's so good looking.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, can we say 6 feet, 7 feet, 5 feet? I mean, I'd be happy just to, is it something that can be conditionally part of the
Yeah,
decision?
so why don't you do, since we have to come back in 2 weeks, and anyway, come back with the length that works for you.
Okay.
You know, whether it's 5, 6, or 7, this board's not going to tell you what it is. You're obviously very capable of presenting a great design. So pick the length that works for you, just not the 10 feet that's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Jeff.
Is that fair, board members?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, then
I can't hear you, Sarah.
It doesn't overlook me, so no, it's such a good design. It's really it really is an excellent design, and
It just shows you, skill really.
even,
you can do a lot. You can do a lot with a lot of skill. You can break a few rules when you're doing it very well.
Yeah, thank you. I had good training I worked for 10 years with Eric Woodward, so I've got good, training with that. So.
Excellent. Great. All right. So I, without any public comment, I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I couldn't tell whether people were saying aye or waving to Eric. So we'll either way see Eric.
Both.
So-
Maybe both.
Okay. Great. Say good night, Gracie. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Now let's see, Patrice McGee and John Kuzukria. Applicant's request adjournment to the 28th. I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the 28th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then 161 Corrigan. Let's see, is that still on, Jackie?
Yep, we have affidavits on that one.
Yeah, right. Okay, this was the one where they had a repost on the corner of the property.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, so is the applicant here?
There are no hands up for this, Jeff.
No? Oh, really?
Does
Oh, okay.
Jackie, do you know the name of the people so I can pull them out?
Yeah, there
Brian
should be a
Glasser?
Brian Glasser and Kevin
Yes.
Wells present.
I have them. Yep, I found them.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah, because the last session we used is sort of a work session, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, okay.
Okay, they're both in.
Okay, gentlemen, tell us
All right.
who you are. And, okay,
Hello, my name is Brian Glasser. Working for Brian Glasser Architect, and I'm representing 161 Corrigan LLC. The last meeting we had a work session, so I'm just going to kind of go through the formal presentation of this, even though we already had some of your comments and feedback. So basically, the site that you're currently looking at is on the corner of Corrigan Street and Bernadine Street. It's roughly on the west side of Corrigan and the north side of Bernadine. So right now you're looking from Bernadine, looking towards the pretty much the northeast. And this is the west, I guess, of this view, the west southwest view. Going through the project, we were basically designing a 3,000 square foot shingle style home, roughly 6 bedrooms. We also have a detached single car garage. We're proposing to have a gunite pool to the west of, which is the rear elevation. A few things to know if we were to talk about the design of the house. We're going with a eastern white cedar shingle on the roof, perfection shingle with a 5-inch exposure. On the siding, we're going to be doing an eastern white cedar with a 5.5-inch exposure. And the finish on the cedar siding is going to be a natural driftwood with a gray bleaching stain. Going to the windows, we're going with right now we have it called out as a Marvin. It's going to be in a Marvin Ultimate, aluminum clad with a wood interior, and the color we're going for is like a timber wolf gray. What else do we have here? One thing to mention, to note, we're doing going back to the windows. It's we're going to do a 6/1 double hung pattern, and I had a note here about double hung custom. I guess I'll go into the leaders and gutters. We'll be going with a lead coated half round gutter and round leaders, copper red lead coated copper leaders. Moving forward, the one thing that you guys did mention, and I don't know if it's on the rear elevate on the other view, the rear view, but we changed the stone from the stone veneer. We went with your recommendation, and the product we're going to be using is so it's a thin brick veneer, and it's going to be it's called Lorraine White by it's a handmade product by Glenn Gary.
Under here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brian, you also changed the windows on the south elevation.
Yeah, you know what it is? I didn't want to just jump into your comments because I didn't have a full
Okay.
presentation. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I wanted to bring it to the attention of the board.
Yeah, so some of your comments were, if I just were to, so it was the brick finish on the, instead of having stone, so that's something that we went and did that. Yeah, the window for the staircase on the south side, we reduced it from 2 3'7" windows, and then we had like a transom underneath to a single window at the landing level, and one at the into the basement, which is kind of hidden on the lower portion of it. Some other things I adjusted as I was designing it, you could see this reverse gable, how now it lines up with that bottom flare. So it kind of, I think it looks pretty elegant if you were to look at the original rendering. It's nice when that datum line kind of follows through with that larger reverse gable. So I took care of that. And then I believe one of the board members mentioned on the north side, it was something I was debating even before, and then we added extra windows. It's not on the renderings because it's not really too much in view, but we added extra windows to the bedrooms and the closets on the north side to give it a little bit more balance between like glass and wall space. It looks consistent. Kat, I don't know if you want to show just the 2D drawing, but you can see those changes were made.
Which ones do you want?
That would be what, A201?
201, yes, that's correct. So we basically added 6 windows from the original design.
I don't know which one's 201, sorry.
Keep going. Yeah, just keep
You're
going
looking
down.
for the exteriors. There you are.
Keep going. One more.
One more.
Right there.
All right, sorry about
So
that.
this north elevation, you can see the 6 windows, which would be to the left or the east side of the property, which is the front.
Right.
We added 6 windows on the 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the underfenestrated side. Yeah.
Yep. And then another comment that was brought to our attention, I've done this before, but, and this elevation on the, I guess would be the south view. Kat, if you could scroll down slightly, right there. No, not that much, sorry. Just, no, up a little, yeah, right there.
Up a little bit.
So basically, Peter brought to my attention about trying to do a shed roof, but the issue I was having was the max flat roof area with your code, and having a shed, it just wasn't working out with the proportion if I wanted to pull that shed all the way through, and it just was throwing the house off balance. So that was something that I felt like everything was so balanced. The windows were centered on gables and the proportions looked so perfect to me. The shed was kind of throwing it off, where it's like this house just kind of feels like it has to be a little bit more balanced. And if you go back to the renderings, you can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments from the board?
Yeah, I'm itching. Your elevation face, particularly the second floor and the stair windows facing Bernardine Street, the south elevation. You know, it's perfection. It's so good looking, and it faces a street. And you mask the massing of the house by pushing the volume back towards the north. But alas, I believe you really spoiled it with the second gable just bearing down on that roof. To me, it crushes it, and it spoils the whole damn thing. I'm sorry. And if you could find a way to, and also I really, really, really object to the proliferation of twin gabled houses in the western part of the village, and now they're infecting the central village. And this house does not need to do that. This house has everything going for it. If you lost those two gables, which I think are very heavy, sitting on the skirt of roof, they would free the west elevation so that it would express itself completely, which is really a beautiful thing. We don't get that so often. And I just find those second gables, they spoil it. So, but please listen to other people.
Okay.
Can we go to the rendering just so I could see it, so we could, if you don't mind, just so as he's, okay.
I think the west elevation is so attractive, and that thing plunked on top, it's like it smothers it. There's no room for it to be seen with that huge roof, the gable and everything. It defeats what you've done with the plan by pushing the mass towards the north, away from the street. I think it defeats the other moves you've made.
And Peter, that was the idea for the shed dormer. That's where that came from.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
But Brian, you attempted the shed dormer and it didn't work. I mean,
No, the thing is with the shed dormer, it has to do with the code requires a certain amount of pitch in the center.
7 to 12, right? Or 5 to 12?
Yeah. So if you look at it,
it's 5% max too of your roof area. You only
no,
have
I know, but I don't count as a flat roof. I mean, the one facing Corrigan Street, that's steep. That's not a 7 and 12. I mean, that's steeper than 7 and 12, right? That little infill piece, that's got a substantial pitch to it.
The one in the center above the foyer?
Yeah. That's got a substantial pitch. I don't know why you can't just continue that over to the south.
So that pitch is a 7 on 12. That's the shallowest I can go. The thing is, if I pull that across, see how that stepped back? Then what happens is this dormer coming forward, this is where the stairwell is. So then that roof line would have to come down, and it would look it would kind of be squatty, look like it cuts off, because just imagine I got to continue that pitched roof coming all the way through. So where like those windows in the front line up, it wouldn't. Well,
can you pull the stair hall wall forward so it lines up? So it's one plane, the bedroom or the stair hall window and the
you know what it is?
One plane.
You know what it is? Because
in the plan, it's just a stair hall.
Yeah. What happens is
just a stair hall,
Yeah. Square footage wise, with these houses on a corner lot, I'm so restrictive to what it's very tight.
The house is only, I think it's 40 feet wide, and it's a 3,000 square foot house. We kind of have to design the house around the stairs not being in the center of the home. So that's really in that corner. We had the same problem with 181 Corrigan. The stairs have to go in the corner of the house unless we want the foyer 2 or 3 feet wide going around a compliant staircase. So that's kind of the solution in the corner lot with the setback. The house gets squashed to 40 feet wide, and we just don't have the width to put the stairwell in the middle of the house where it would be in the middle windows. So I mean, like I said, I'm very critical of, everything. And I really, really see a need for, what you guys do with some of the stuff that people propose. But I mean, I'm looking at this house now and I think the house is absolutely gorgeous.
If I pull that dormer back to make it line up, then it's gonna have a funny ceiling inside too. Like I might have headroom issues with the staircase. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I don't think the stair needs a big volume over it, but
it's
I
not
don't
that
know.
big. Yeah, that's the
But
thing.
some-
Like this
some-
staircase is not that big. I mean, it's nothing. I've done houses that have extremely large foyers and big staircases.
I think it's only 10
You know,
feet wide.
No, I have no complaint. No,
Brian, how wide is the stairwell, Brian? I think it's 10 feet. It's not big.
Maybe.
Well, what do other people think?
Okay, other board members?
I hear what you're saying, Peter, and I think a shed dormer would be very attractive, much more in keeping with the design of the rest of the house. But I think, I think it's fine. I could live with this.
I understand. I think it's a very attractive house. I understand your point, Peter. I think it's a very attractive house.
The staircase is 10 by 15, roughly, just so you guys know. 4'6" wide staircase.
I mean, I've done this my whole life. Somehow you move a wall, jiggle the plan, and I know you could make it happen. But again, I don't want to be so prescriptive.
So now, if we were to go down that path in the front elevation, if we were to follow in the back, I mean, I have a bathroom back there, then that's going to get all. The bathroom.
All right, well.
The thing is, for me, like I have restrictions in my own ways of making things work and make it like look balanced and as perfect as I can. And then it's like, I know there's like consequences, along the way. And it's like, oh yeah, if I just move this, next thing you know, it's like, oh, now I got to reconfigure a bathroom. That's not, I know you guys
Absolutely. I know whenever you make a change, the whole thing goes up in the air. I know that. Yep, you're right. Well, what do Mark and Sarah think?
Well, is there any way to reduce the size of when I'm looking at the rendering, reduce the size of one of these front gables so it's not just these. We really are getting tropes of it's become a bad tick, and it's spreading all around the town of Southampton too, where you've got these paired gable ends. And is there a way to, I don't know, make it smaller and set back a little bit so that they're not
Sarah,
quite.
I think you could do it if you made it smaller. Yes, that's an alternate that I think, yes, it could work.
Because that way, at least it's not these, these twin peaks, for want of a better expression. And you've got such a good looking building. And by doing that, it would also increase the size of the slope on that end. Maybe that's the answer, just to make it a smaller gable. Just try it, because
I was gonna, Sarah, one thing, I know what you're talking about, and I did play around with making it a smaller proportion to the other one. The thing is, see how these gables all hit at a perfect piece on top?
Yeah.
So if I make it smaller, what happens is at some point the reverse on the inside, if you were to look on like the side elevation or the south elevation, you'll see that reverse kind of hides that inner. What happened, the reason why you're seeing these things is because the way the code is set up with the max 5%.
Right.
What happens is it's forcing architects to do things a certain way to make these roof lines work. Like if I didn't have that 5%, I could do a shed dormer off the back here going straight through, and you guys would be like, wow, that looks beautiful. And we would all agree. But because of that code, I can't do that. So, and I know why you guys put that code out there, because what happens was architects were putting these large flat roofs on top, making the houses look massive. So I understand why that was being done.
Yeah.
But then what it's doing is it's forcing people to do what I'm trying to do, which I know what you guys are going for. You want to see a reverse gable on one side, a shed coming all the way across, that I think that will look beautiful.
Yeah.
The problem is with that code, it wouldn't allow me to do it. unless I pulled the whole, like this whole wall back,
Mhm.
like, I don't know what the number, let me just use 5 feet, which is, now I can't even have bedrooms and bathrooms up there, but I'm just giving you examples of kind of how these things play out, you know? So that's where
Well,
my hands are tied to make this house look good and meet the code at the same time, you
no,
know?
well, Brian, you're absolutely pointing out, these goddamn rules, pardon my French, these rules, they tie our hands.
2 in a row.
And
No, but I can see why they do. Listen, I can respect it. I look at a code and I understand why it's being done because I see people that take advantage of the code. Unfortunately, when I start doing a design, it kind of screws me up sometimes because I'm not going for that. That's not my simple fix. I just do a hip roof.
Brian, I feel your pain. I really get it. And really what the code should say, but we're not in a position to do that, is that 7 and 12 pitch should be confined to principal roofs, so that dormers and subsidiary roofs are not bound by it.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, we're not there.
We're not
So
gonna solve that tonight.
yeah, we're not going to solve that tonight. All right. Well,
Can you go back to the elevation in question one more time?
That's the other thing. Is it just the front? Because then I don't think it would look right if it was just one shed on the front and then the back was.
well, that would help a lot. I mean, because that's the principal corner. That south.
I just think it's going to look funny because you're wrapping the corner, like that's on the corner of the property, and everything because of the traditional forms of this house, I feel like it has to be balanced.
All right.
It's not like I can respect you've seen my other houses that are off balance. I'm fine.
Yes.
Doing it. I love that.
I know. I've
But
seen
this
them.
house, this house, I can't do it. Like if you saw the next house I have, you guys are going to love it because it's off balance, but it works. But this house is so tight. And with these restrictions, this is where it's like, you know what, let me just give a very traditional, everything lines up perfectly and balanced. And that's kind of the direction I took.
Well, it's an elegant design. We were just trying to take away the Twin Peaks.
And if one would, Brian, if one were to narrow down the stairwell so that the left facing gable is set back another couple of feet, does that do anything?
Well, so what happens is, like I said, we have roughly 10 feet.
It's small.
Around 10 feet. And I have a 4'6" wide staircase, which I think is a comfortable size.
Yeah.
If we were to shrink it more, it's not going to help because what happens is if you look at the second floor plan, I'd have to come back like almost maybe 3 or 4 feet, which is almost right over the staircase to make that line up with the bathroom in the front.
Well, wait a minute. But could you extend the bathroom out 2 feet and push the stair back 2 feet?
Going back to your codes, what happens is double height spaces, which is where you guys want me to lose from. Those that double height space doesn't count towards gross floor area. Right now, I'm already maxed out. And if I bring that bathroom forward, it's going to start adding to my square footage.
Okay.
Well, right now, my square footage is at.
Yeah, but it's like.
And not only that, but then it's going to make my flat roof area up on top bigger because that roof line is going to grow.
Okay.
I'm not just making, this is like real, these are real numbers of how everything.
No, Brian, I hear you. I understand.
Gross floor area.
All right.
Like 15 square feet, which is.
So where are we going?
I don't think you're going to be happy. I was going to do a drawing and a rendering showing it going back and it wouldn't have met code. But if I showed it, you wouldn't have been happy with it. It just didn't look right. It looks, to me, it looked funny. I know what you're going for, but that's not something I can really accomplish with this.
Okay, uncle.
I could have.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like unless I'm misreading this, the board is generally in favor of the design as submitted and the changes that you've made. I'm not hearing that there are hills to be fought and died upon.
No.
Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in which case, then when we've got this two-week hold, then we would, again, Alice, we're adjourning. We're closing for
We can't close, no. We have to
We-
keep
we
the
can't-
record open for written comment.
The record, I move that we keep the record open, subject to written comment. At which time, at the next meeting, at which time we will make a decision.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
Brian, maybe maybe a stroke of genius will come to you in the night. It has been known to happen.
Yeah, well, so wait, what's the
Oh.
outcome here?
Alice, did you want to explain about?
Yeah, yeah, better than I was able to explain it.
Sure. So there was a mistake in which the agenda wasn't posted properly to the village website. So in order to meet the New York State open meetings law requirements, the record has to be held open for at least 1 week. And the board deemed it prudent to hold it open for all applications until the next meeting, which is on the 28th.
So on the 28th will be approved?
That,
Maybe.
yes.
But you know, Brian, I gotta say something.
I'll take a shot at it if you guys
Of
don't.
course.
Yeah.
Looking at your second floor plan, you could pull in the 2 bathrooms towards Corrigan Street, you know, to the east, and make up, because they're vast, and make up that 23 square feet you're worried about in the bathroom in the front. So chop the bathrooms in the back and add the area to the bathroom in the front. And I think you would gain, I think you would get close to it. If you chop from the back and give it to the front, you will even out your pitches.
Okay, so here's what, so we're neither approving nor denying this application this evening. Correct, Alice?
Yep, we're adjourning till the next meeting.
We're adjourning to the next meeting. The indications are that the plan is acceptable. However, Peter is making some suggestions, and if Brian, as he says, you get a stroke of genius and you desire to, on top of your current genius.
I see what you guys are doing. You guys like challenging me here to give you a better design. I'm okay with it. I'm up for the challenge.
I know you
Okay.
can do it. I really do.
All right, so if between now and the 28th, you come up with another design, you're more than welcome to present it. Alternatively, you can come back with this design as well. So I move that we accept the applicant's, well, now I don't know whether he's requesting an adjourning or we're just holding it over.
I'm not saying it.
Board can adjourn on its own motion. That's absolutely
Okay,
fine.
we're gonna, I vote that we adjourn. Do I have a second on that? Adjourn this application to our next meeting. Okay, great. Brian and Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and all right, thank you, Brian and
Thanks.
Kevin.
Thanks so
Okay,
much. Have a
great.
great.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay. All right, everybody, let's see, we're sticking in here. So Mitchell Kneff at 60 Halsey Neck Lane, and this is a new application. How are we on affidavits?
They're in order.
Okay, great. So Mitchell Kneff, or whoever is representing the applicant, please raise your hand. The chat will let you in. You can tell us who you are.
If everybody would quit hitting the wrong button, they'd be in faster. They keep saying decline. Okay, let me try again. That's funny. Lori did it right. What's wrong? Oh, you're on a cell phone too? Okay, hold on. Let me do this. Okay, are you the last 2 numbers 57, Lori? Okay, let me bring it in. Oops, where is it? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna send you the link for your phone to unmute. Okay, can you try talking, please?
I think I'm on.
Perfect,
Can you
okay.
hear me? Great,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
can.
Okay, so folks, tell us who you are, and then we'll proceed.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Broadleib and members of the board for hearing us tonight. I'm Lori Bethu. I'm a senior associate at BMA Architects based in Bridgehampton. And I'm here on behalf of Mitchell Kneff, the owner of 60 Halsey Neck Lane. With me, I'm
Okay.
joined by Nicole Constantino, who's also representing the BMA team. And we have Chris LaGuardia and Matthew Horvath of LaGuardia Design Group, the landscape architects for the project.
Okay, great.
So
Okay,
I'm gonna
so,
screen share here.
take us. Okay, yeah, take us through the elevations.
Will do. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. Okay, so 60 Halsey Neck Lane is located west of the Central Business District. It's about a 1/10 of a mile off of Hill Street. Here's a zoomed in view of the subject parcel. It's 2.6 acres. It's a landlocked parcel with existing homes on 3 sides, an undeveloped lot across the street. There is an existing pink home, a 2-story single-family home on the property that was built in the late 1980s and has been owned by the current owner's father for a number of years. And here are a few more views of the house. These were the balconies that were actually mentioned earlier in the meeting. So the balconies will be going away. We're proposing that we remove the existing home in its entirety. And at this point, I'm going to let LaGuardia address these 2 images.
Yeah, Lori. So again, this is Matt Horvath, LaGuardia Design Landscape Architects. Just briefly speak to the existing landscape that's out there. The top image is the Google Street View. The bottom image is a bird's eye view taken from our drone. So you can clearly see the property is surrounded on all 4 sides with a very mature landscape. As Lori noted, I think it's important to note that the property's been in our client's family for many years, decades actually. And these gardens have really been carefully maintained and filled in really nicely. So our plan is to keep those intact during construction and beyond. I mean, we're talking 30 foot, 40 foot up around the sides. And they're really going to screen out the property from both the street and the neighboring lots.
Can I proceed, Matt?
Yep.
Great. This is a copy of the survey of the proposed work. You can see that the outline of the proposed house is situated very central to the lot, similar to the existing home, a little bit further back in terms of the setback from the street. The dashed red line indicates the existing house, and the black lines are the proposed. And before we get into the renderings, I just wanted to walk through our material palette briefly. At the left, we have ashlar cut Connecticut granite stone, which is the predominant cladding material at the exterior. Supplementing that is clear vertical grain cedar. And the intention is to stain that a light gray that really mimics the natural effects of the material weathering over time, that creates this consistency across all facades. And last is a medium bronze color that we're proposing for window frames, and also as an accent fascia and soffit piece at some of the window units. And these 2 images are existing BMA projects, just illustrating the use of the materials in context. These are both local projects. So here you can see that natural Alaskan yellow cedar, also the Connecticut granite. And then these are the proposed window units, sky frame window units with an ultra clear glass and slim mullion profiles. And then moving into the renderings, this image is the view of the street elevation as you approach the house. So this is what would be facing Halsey Neck Lane. You can see that it's a 1-story house. In his project brief, the owner really expressed a desire for privacy, which by benefit is good for the neighbors as well. So we opted for a 1-story design as a way to really create that sense of seclusion. And without a 2nd floor, the owners have minimal to no views of the neighboring properties, which is also true in the reciprocal. So the house becomes a hideaway that's really tucked into this garden that's lush with the existing vegetation. And then moving up towards the front door, which is kind of tucked behind this alcove, you can get a sense of the entry courtyard that's created by this central living volume, which has a butterfly roof. You'll see that a little bit more in the next slide. And it's flanked by bars that run at the north and at the south ends that house the bedroom. So the public program is really central with the higher roof line. And then the roof line at the two flat roof structures at the top and bottom, north and south of the property, have lower roof lines. And here's a view of the back side of the house. The really only large area of glass is at this main living and dining room space that opens that area up to the backyard. And you can start to see how we're expressing the stone as a series of walls that array themselves in the landscape. The butterfly roof is supported by glue laminated timber beams that are expressed. And you can see an interest in carrying the materials from the interior to the exterior. So again, that gray cedar is moving through the ceiling frame. Oh. And then these are the drafted elevations. At the west, you can see this is our front door, which is a solid wood front door, and some kind of slot window language, as well as these glassy connectors that tie the bar at the south, which is on the right, with the bar in the north. At the south elevation, the guest wing, we have fairly minimal glazing, a series of casement windows at the bedrooms, and then a clerestory that runs across and kind of creates the impression of a floating roof plane above those. This is that east elevation that you saw in the rendering. And you can see the butterfly roof kind of hovering above the other two wings of the house. And then the butterfly roof again in profile at the north elevation. On the right side of this view is the garage. And then the left-hand side is study, master bathroom, and then the master bedroom behind the more solid wall. And then the project arranged and planned. So again, this is that north wing that I was just referencing with the garage a little closer to the street and the master bedroom behind it. The main public living space kind of linking the two bars, the glassy connectors between them, and then the guest wing here. And I kind of neglected to address the pool house, but it's in the south of this view. A 518 square foot accessory structure, also with a flat roof.
Okay, good. Lori, is that it? If it is, I'll turn it over.
Yep. I just have
Okay.
a few images that I'd like to quickly flip through. I know
Okay.
I'm ready to call it a night. Just a few flat roof precedents on Halsey Neck Lane. So this is 56 Halsey Neck, just to the north.
Mhm.
A little hard to see. 176 Halsey Neck Lane, and further down the street, a bit older, is 689 Halsey Neck Lane.
The masterpiece.
Yeah, the best.
Right. And then a few quick comments. I'm going to conclude the architectural portion, but I think LaGuardia wanted to end on this image.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak to the whole site plan here, but just a couple final comments. We're maintaining the existing curb cut on the northwest corner of the property. We're removing an existing tennis court, which is currently bifurcating the whole back property. And we're transplanting 4 really mature trees that are within the area of development, 2 crepe myrtles, 1 ginkgo, and 1 stewardia. So, honoring what's out there has always been important to our client. And we hope you see that.
Well, I certainly do. It's a classic modern design. It's 1 story. Nobody complained. It's intruding on anyone. Even all the glass on the first floor. Well, it's on the first floor. We don't have to worry about the second floor reflections, and it's facing a yard that's hundreds of feet deep. Sorry. I think it's perfection.
I agree with Peter. I think this house is spectacular. And on so many different levels. I just think I love the way it sits on the property. I love the way that it slides into the environment. And this just goes to show you that you can do things that are different in this village. Not
Yes.
everything has to be a shingled, four square. It is possible to do things like this that do them very well without, without intimidating the entire environment around you, which has been a problem in my estimation on some properties on Halsey Street. But I think it's a dream house. It's beautiful.
Also, the butterfly roof, I think, is so elegant to see. And normally when I look at stone, I think, we don't have Connecticut stone here. But here, the way it's handled with the integrated indoor-outdoor cedar, it's sublime. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the kind words.
It's extremely well thought out and extremely well executed.
Yeah. A word that comes to my mind is respect.
Yes.
Respect for the property, respect for
Only now we can't vote on it.
landscaping.
No, but I want
Sorry?
to point out something about the granite, Connecticut granite. I know that, we don't like it on traditional styled homes.
Right.
And that's because traditional style homes are harking back to an era where they did not have access to stone from across the sound.
Exactly.
This is a different era. We have materials from all over.
Yep.
And it's allowed.
Yeah.
Just because of the style you chose.
It's appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah, and keeping all that vegetation is great. And it pains me because there's a house on White Street that just took down probably in as much as the trunk is probably 4 feet wide. What is it, got to be 100 years old?
Yep.
So kudos to you folks. Any
So
public comment?
we can do all the praise, but we can't vote.
Well,
Next
next
time.
time. you can.
Oh, that's right. Okay, all right.
I don't see
So,
any.
And it's
All
to
right.
Archaea too. God.
right. So we will adjourn to our next meeting to allow for public comment.
Can I ask one
Barb?
question?
Yes.
The entrance, those blocks that are layered into the doorway, what's the construction? What's the material? Are those like poured, like polished concrete, or is it like limestone slabs? Or
Matt, do you want to address that?
Yeah, like they're either going to be monolithic limestone slabs, or we'll have to custom fabricate like a hookered piece to give that illusion of the floating look.
yeah, okay, just curious. I mean, that is like icing on the cake. Anyway, sorry.
That was
All right. So I move that we adjourn to our next meeting to allow for public comment, at barring which, if there
Written
is
public
none, what's that?
Just written public comment.
Written public comment, thank you. And barring any of that, at our next meeting, we will vote to approve. So do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Peter, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. We appreciate it. Okay, so the next application is that of, hold on, I've got a little dog nipping at me. Charles Falco at 135 Lewis Street to amend a prior ARB approval. Is the applicant here?
He
Uh,
is.
Have affidavits in there in order.
Oh, thank you.
From the sublime.
So I'm
Scott
shushing Winnie. But anyway, sorry about
Okay. Jacques Vanderwatt. Here's your unmute request.
Unmute the video. Okay.
Okay, you got the video already here.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Jake. Last name is Vanderwatt. I'm representing Charles Falco. So there we go.
Oh boy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's me. So you've come here before on this property. You are representing the applicant. In the past meetings, you've been the messenger who's often been subject. So I'm surprised that Charles Lambo Chuck is not on this call, nor is the applicant or the owner of the property, Michael White. But be that as it may, you're representing them.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
So,
and by the way, if they are out there and they intend to speak, they have to represent themselves now. I will not have them come in as the public.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if they're on. I don't know if.
Hold on, let me stop share for a second so I can see if they're in. No, there's only one person left, Brian Glasser. That's it.
Brian is probably, that's probably a holdover, but okay. Because the next application after this Ring of Fire has been adjourned.
Right, he's probably just watching. It's
yeah. Okay, well, you're welcome to watch. Okay, Jake. All right, Jake, I'm going to shut up. You know the situation in terms of a house was approved that is very much different than the house that has been built. And you are now before us. So understand in this situation, anything that's been built from our standpoint, it hasn't been built.
Okay.
Which means everything can be reversed back to the original. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
There were two issues, as I understand. The slate roof. There's a metal roof on it now. The slate roof that was on it was very old and damaged, and would have been very costly, extremely costly to replace. The client
we'll hold off comments. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. The client then had a choice between asphalt or metal, and at that point, because of COVID, there was a big shortage of asphalt, and the roof needed to be closed, so they chose metal. Then the second point was the rear deck on the southwest side. As I understand, they did send you some pictures from the deck to the neighbor's yard. There, you can't see onto the neighbor's yard. There are like 14-foot hedges blocking the view. Then also the issue of the deck itself. The client, they wanted a lot of light into the room, into the master bedroom, and with the two small windows there, they just felt that they couldn't get adequate light. And also the issue of egress, because they are older people, they decided to rather do a big sliding door that's safer for egress as well. What else is there? I think that was the point.
If that's, Jake, is that the extent of your presentation?
Yes, that's
okay.
The extent. I think that those were the issues, right. the deck and the roof.
Right. So rather than, so you're asking for forgiveness rather than permission. You came here 4 separate times. I'm not going to bother at this hour to read the minutes. The house that you built because the client said they wanted it was done unilaterally without coming before us for any subsequent permission. You pointed out 2 of probably a dozen changes that were made in violation of the approved plans. It's actually, I'm trying to be collegial, but it's insulting. So I'll open it up to board discussion. We'll talk about what you're submitting. Let's talk about, God,
Jeff,
so many things. Let's,
Jeff,
Go ahead.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. I'm fighting off a little dog here. Sorry.
Let's see. Where are you? Let me know if you see that.
Yes.
Okay. So this house is, I want this on the public record. This house has been problematic from the beginning. The applicant received a permit for a pool and started tearing the house apart. And at that time, the original roof had been taken down. But when this application was first brought to the ARB, this is the rendering for 135 Lewis, and the board had concerns. Chief among them was first removing the original roof line, which was detrimental to the original Tudor expression. We felt that the rendering sought to contemporize the house by removing all of the original period details, and the balcony was rejected, both because of light and sound issues to the neighbors to the west. If we go down to here, what you just saw, this is the rendering that was first dated February 4th and returned to the submission of February 13th, which shows the return of the Tudor details, the return of the original roof line, and the removal of the balcony. And this is the rendering upon which we made our decision. This is a picture that was taken over the winter. It shows two things. First of all, the balcony was not removed, nor were the Tudor details that were agreed to maintained as per the rendering that was approved. You can also see that there are two lights on that balcony which project into the neighboring property, which was our original concern. Here is a more recent photo of that balcony, where large, uneven outdoor speakers have now been added, aiming directly at the neighbor, further impeding their privacy issues. As well, here's the original landscape plan that was submitted. It's hard to read, but up there in the right-hand corner, it says 8-foot privet to the street. Here's a picture from the neighbor's front yard and a 6-foot fence where you see no 2 feet of privet heading toward that house, and further evidence that none of the agreed to original Tudor details remain on that house as was agreed to. As for the roof, this is the rendering we were shown. And as you can see, there may have been a consideration for asphalt, not sure. I have no doubt that the applicants claimed that the 100-year-old roof was in need of repair, but I also believe that the 99-year-old roof a year ago probably needed repair, but wasn't submitted as part of the required scope of work for consideration. The claim also establishes a date, that 100-year claim also establishes a date of 1922 for the existence of this house, which means it was already a contributing structure under the ARB guidelines at the time. The now existing standing seam metal roof is inconsistent with the Tudor architecture, inconsistent with the period of this house, and inconsistent with the architectural flavor of the neighborhood, and was not considered nor approved by the ARB. I reject the claim that the balcony was added for safety. I reject the claim that the owner has no intention of putting furniture or using the balcony, for if you didn't intend to use it, why would you wire it for sound and music? This applicant has consistently and willfully ignored the rules of the village and the authority of this board. Therefore, I believe that we should require, one, that the balcony be removed and the agreed to roof line be reinstalled, the black standing seam roof be removed and replaced with a material agreed to in advance by this board, and the applicant be required to adhere to the original landscaping plan prior to the Village of Southampton considering any sort of certificate of occupancy for this house, which has been occupied since last summer. That's my opinion.
Excellent. Mark,
Excellent.
thank you for a thorough review.
Mark, could I ask if you haven't already just to share that file with the building department so we can make sure that we have that on record?
Happy to.
Thanks.
And
Mark,
that was so excellent and so complete, but I would add, you know, that the texture of the stucco was ruined as well. That was destroyed. It was a modeled natural colored stucco, cement stucco, I imagine, and now it's, you know, fake Stowe white junk.
We could go further. The original rendering was not a white house. The original rendering, they didn't paint the chimney. Literally nothing has been done that was agreed to by this board, and it's egregious. And it's not fair to the neighbor to the west. In the letter that claims that they have no privacy issues to the neighbor to the east, well, that's the hospital. It's the neighbor to the west who's been highly affected by this and now has speakers aiming at their house that I think should be removed.
Well, in addition, this is not only unfair to the neighbors. This is unfair to every submission we have reviewed since I've been a member of the board, and it has not been easy with a lot of homeowners or architects, but we have come to conclusions and people have followed through on what they agreed to do. This is an insult to those people as well.
So
and to everyone who drives by on a daily basis. It's abysmal.
So Jake, as I said at the beginning, you find yourself once again the unfortunate position of being the messenger. I think Mark had laid out very comprehensively and thoroughly, that's redundant, the issues which are more than the twofold that you mentioned. I would seriously suggest going back to the owner. The plans as submitted will be rejected or denied. And beyond that, we would submit to the building department to take all enforcement actions that are within their purview. Alice, is there any more guidance to be had? I mean, we're not going to vote on anything tonight, but if you want us at the next meeting, Jake, to vote on the application, I think you could see that the sentiment of the board would be to deny the plans as submitted. Alice, anything else?
That sounds about right.
How is it even occupied? How was it given? Was it given a C of O?
No, the house has no C of O.
So,
and we can take that up with the building department, but I think it was occupied before and then it was continuing, but I'm not sure. And
it seems to me that it should not be allowed to be used.
And there's no way it could have been
the neighbor on
occupied
this call.
I guess we can take that up with Alex and Alice and
Kat, is there
Tim.
anyone from the public?
No, just Brian Glasser is the only one left.
Hi, Brian.
Okay, but the neighbor did submit letters to the file, which Jake, you're welcome to read, and they are in direct contradiction to what Michael White submitted, saying that there were no complaints from the neighbors. There were and is and still are. So we will. I don't even think there's so much to go into, Jake. I'm not going to, I mean, if you want to respond, you're welcome to respond.
I can just take a screenshot of this.
I'm sorry?
I'm just taking a screenshot of the letter.
And this is on file with the building department, it looks like, so we can provide
Did you
a
get
copy
it?
as well.
Did you get it, Jake?
Yes, let me just, the first page I got. I see there's a second page, okay.
Yes, yeah.
The second part included the pictures.
Okay, got both.
And I don't know if you need these.
And the minutes in which you
That's
laid
it.
out what was agreed to. So, and Jake, and again, you can respond if you wish, otherwise we'll return to the next meeting.
Yeah, at this point, I'll just take this up with the client and just adjourn it to the next meeting.
Okay, all right, I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the next meeting. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks.
thank you, Jake.
Bye-bye.
Okay, the next application to be called is.
Done.
I know,
That's the last one, I think.
I'll just call it though, Ring of Fire, 191 Bishop's Lane. They request, right, Jackie, they requested an adjournment?
No, they're post a notice. So we have no
okay.
jurisdiction. That's why it came off.
We have no jurisdiction. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so there are no driveway gates in non-historic, so that concludes tonight's meeting unless there's any other business.
Let's stay
and-
another hour.
I'll have to go because Brian just left.
Okay.
And
Party at
and
Brian's house.
Winnie's objecting, so despite the objection from Winnie, I move that we close the meeting tonight at 10:45 of the Southampton Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation this Monday, March 14th. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Sarah. Okay, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.